So here we are about to start live. So here we are about to start live. So here we are about to start live. Hello, everyone. So it's not yet time, but hopefully our guests will be here very soon. We have 3 minutes to the time. I do not believe in African time. I'm not one that feels that, oh, we should keep things and we wait and then start. No, whatever we need to do, we have to start it quite on time. I'm just trying to find out whether the YouTube live has started, because we're streaming this also on YouTube. So it's very important for this also to start. And I'm trying to check that out to see. So I'll continue to do that while we wait for our guests to come. I'm still trying to. So I'm just trying to find out if you're live, just trying to work out the technicalities. It's actually 1 p.m. here in Washington, D.C., and also that will be 6 p.m. Nigerian time for our Muslim brothers and sisters. It's almost time to break the fast there. It's not yet about an hour too. Here in Washington, D.C., we have close to 6 hours to go, not up to 7, but 6 hours plus to go. And while we're waiting for our guests to come in, is just to say on the issue of election, we've seen the 2023 election that has not really gone according to how the citizens would have wanted it to have gone. It's really been sad that citizens have been subjected to a lot of things that they shouldn't have been subjected to. Unfortunately, there are even some who paid the ultimate price just to simply go and perform a civic duty that shouldn't cost anyone anything other than the time that someone would spend at the polling units. This is something that is not acceptable in Nigeria. This is something that it's not okay. This is not something that we should not allow in any way. And also to let the Committee of Nations and international organizations understand that they cannot come to our country and try to accept something that it's not done properly. And it's quite it's good seeing that they're trying to rectify there for some of them who had initially supported or given pass mark to the election and the way it was conducted. It is quite honorable that they're doing the right thing and ensuring that and just putting out the statements the way things are and calling out the election for being one that is not free, fair, and neither credible. And so, but what we must not allow is for people to actually carry out all sorts of things and then for there to be legitimacy from the part of citizens itself. Apologies for that. I just got a call from our guest. He just came into the house. Of course, those who live in Lagos, you know, the whole issue of Lagos traffic is always a problem. And he was trying to say, just also trying to check and be sure that we have the rights, what do you call it now? That we have the rights. Something is not right somehow. Something is not right somehow. I think the link we have here, it should have started, but it's not, it's live here, but it's not showing it's live on this thing. I think there's a bit of technical issue. What's going on now? Yeah. The live stream is on, but this is not on. What's going on? So sorry about this, please. Something is going on. I don't know what that is. Let me see. Yeah, so that means that is on. Okay, so what I can see, so I don't know where the problem is coming from, but I'm just trying to rectify that and see what is going on per se. So I'm seeing that I'm live, but I'm not, the links that are shared, it's still showing that it's not yet live. While we're waiting for our guests, and I'm the only one that is here right now, I'll just put out all of those links and find out what's going on. Sometimes technology can be a bit of a hassle. Okay. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, so I'm going to share another link that's a little bit of technicality. So please don't mind me. We'll get this thing sorted. Just hold on a little bit. I just realized, so I see that we are live on YouTube. I'm trying to get to it. So let me continue this. So I'm trying, normally what I do when I'm live on YouTube, I'm able to come in and so be part of the conversation, see what's happening, be able to share the link. Because what I want to do, I want to actually share the link from Zoom onto that part, but I just can't see it on my own YouTube, on my own phone that I use to check up on YouTube. So I'm trying to see what is it that it's going on. So please, you will be here in a minute. We will get this sorted out. All of this thing is just the beginning phases with a lot of technology and stuff like that. And we'll get it sorted very soon. So please just do bear with us on this one. So what's happening? Why is the link? The link shows me it's live here. Let me go and see. So what's happening? Why is the link? The link shows me it's live here. Let me go and see. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that it's actually like, because I see people are already on it, they're asking for the link. Okay, let me just go in and copy the link and bring it here. I think we just get this done. So what's happening? Why is the link? The link shows me it's live here. Everyone see. Okay, so what I'm saying here is that it's actually like, because I see people are already on it, they're asking for the link. Okay, let me just go in and copy the link and bring it here. I think we just get this done. Why is the link? The link shows me it's live here. Everyone see. Okay, so I've just been able to put in the link. I've pinned it. So I don't know what's happening in my own system, but so at least it's actually like, because I see people are already on it, they're asking for the link. Okay, hello everyone. Oh yeah, fantastic. I see people already asking to come in. So I just don't know what happened. So sometimes technology just tries to get just, technology kind of thing. But you know what? We are not giving up. We'll just continue to do what I'm doing. And sadly, I'm the only one here trying to figure this all out myself. But then, hey, that is what life is all about. It's about getting all of these things done. I've been trying to get on with the live this thing. I don't know why when I try to go through the link on my phone, it's just telling me that it's waiting. It's not happening because I need to also follow what's happening on the YouTube, because there are people who will be asking questions from there and all of that. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from here. I know it's good evening in Nigeria. Good afternoon, everyone. We are waiting. We'll soon have air. Okay, you see me, Miss Barrister Effiong will still be joining us. I'm always having issues pronouncing his first name. I don't know why. Like, is it Inibehe? Anyways, today we're going to get all of that. So Barrister Effiong will be joining us shortly. He just, like I was explaining earlier, he just got into his house and with the Lagos traffic and all of that. So these are the little ways. And I think it was Badebo, that was GRV, that was explaining how when people don't understand the way governance affects everybody's lives, in the fact that how just you being on traffic, how it affects your life in every way. And if government is able to mitigate that and do something about that, how much improved your life will be. And so sometimes we don't really, we are not able to actually see that relationship between governance and our lives. But anyway, hey, today we are not talking about governance. Today, basically, we are going to be talking about what do you call it now, election petition. There has been a lot of people who have spoken, who have been saying a lot about the election petition and stuff like that. Today, let's hear from a lawyer, a barrister, a human rights lawyer, what this is all about. I know there are a lot of people just like me, honestly. I really don't have much knowledge about these things. And it's always nice for things that you're not very knowledgeable about to try and get knowledge, to try and get an understanding of what people are saying. Please, if you would like to say something before he comes up, just simply raise up your hand. I'll just bring you on. You might notice that you're unable to, how do I put it now? Your video, I did that for a reason. Sometimes you have, because it's a public, the Zoom link has been made public. So sometimes what happens is that people just pushing inappropriate things, even with wordings, they just try to just enter meetings and disrupt it. So it's always much easier to just put everyone on. So when you're ready to speak, we'll be able to have you. Please also indicate, let me know if you're hearing me, if you can hear me. So that also helps. Let me try and see, post this link out there. So please let me know that also. Okay, Sydney, fantastic. Thank you so much. I see the reaction from Sydney. That really and absolutely helps me a lot for me to understand that indeed I'm being heard. I'm not just speaking to myself. Itoro, it's also a great pleasure having you here. Welcome. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. That helps a lot. So as we wait for Barrister Effiong to join us, let me know anyone who would like to speak, who would like to say something. Let's have that. By the way, looking at the judiciary, in all of the activism that we've done in our country, especially in recent years, we have not really focused on the judiciary. And unfortunately, our judicial system has been so corrupted that now it seems justice is always for the person with the deeper pocket. And it's something that people have sort of like given, just see it as the norm and just see it as something that should be fought. And this is the time for us all as citizens to actually focus on the judiciary and begin to ensure that the judiciary becomes the truly last resort of the common man. And so it's very important that we all must begin to also put that attention and ensure that justice is given. When it comes to, there are a few times that the judiciary has been put under, how do I put it now? Has been put under, what do you call it now? Under the spotlight, under the microscope. There are a few times that has been done, but we haven't really focused on that when it comes to political issues. It's more like when it comes to human rights abuses and stuff like that. But on political issues, most times Nigerians, we just are like, oh, okay, let them continue what they're doing. Hello, Sydney, I see your hand. Go ahead, you can unmute yourself. I've asked you. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Sydney. Go ahead.
Thank you, Aisha, for the opportunity of this platform, and good day to everyone, and good evening wherever you're listening from. What I just wanted to say briefly before this session was that I think this election, P2B has put everything on trial, both from the place of delegates. He put it on trial. It was able to be exposed. People begin to see how, the delicate elections are done, and a lot of Nigerians have got that interest. And then we're seeing also that the election, INEC was put on trial, and it now exposed the deceit in the whole system. And for the first time, we're seeing that Nigerians are very awake. Suddenly, I think the judiciary is the next one to go through that trial. And at the end of the day, I think Nigeria will be best for it. Reason is that, yes, it's very painful that the election and the mandate has been sort of stolen. However, Nigeria is on trial. Nigeria is on trial in the international space. Nigeria is on trial on every ramification. And I think it's the judiciary that will have to really do what they can to save the Nigerian state. So this election will be landmark. It's already a landmark election. And I want to congratulate you, Aisha, for, how you do it and the hard work you put in, and all the team, but we're almost there. And looking at the case and the filing that was done, I think he covered the bases. That's my own outlook, that he has been able to cover the bases, and the opposition is seriously rattled. That case is going to be a watershed moment in Nigeria. So, it will be a make or mar for the Nigerian state. If the judiciary decides to go the way of other institutions, then I think it will be a very sad day for Nigeria. And I don't think Nigeria may be able to recover from any judicial rascality. So, it will be a good pleasure to listen to what he has to say. And thank you very much for the opportunity.
Hello, Aisha. I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't hear you. You're on mute.
So apologies. I didn't know I was on mute. I was actually speaking.
Yeah, I know. We could see you saying stuff, but we
I didn't
couldn't hear you.
I said I was on mute. Apologies. Go ahead, Itoro.
No problem. Thank you very much. So mine is just a quick one. So first of all, thank you for putting this on. I think for me, what I want to get out of this is, aside from helping us to understand what's going on and all of that, because it's really helpful for the lay person to really understand all of that stuff. It'll be interesting to hear from you guys, what can we do as the average person out there, apart from waiting, watching, what practical things can we be doing that can help? So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Itoro, for that. And I think we will also have a session where we are having this discussion. I think it's very important. I would say for every one of us, we all have voices, and these voices are very important. And critical voices are actually needed in cases like this. And a critical mass of voices, not critical voices, apologies for that, a critical mass of the population. So when you have so many people speaking in their hundreds of thousands and millions, it makes more impact than one voice or two voices speaking. So the first thing that needs to be done is let this be, how do I put it now? Let us all be speaking about it. What are the things that we can do? Is it to tweet about it? Is it to write something on social media? Are you good with words? Do you do video if that works for you? If it's to make certain writings you want to write about the issue, but silence is not an option. So let's keep talking, let's keep watching, let's focus, because one of the things that a lot of people depend on in Nigeria is that they believe that, no matter what, Nigerians will move away. Nigerians will focus on other issues. Nigerians will not, they get tired. They don't have staying power. That's one of the things that they always bank on. And even you see, as we went into the election, these were some of the things they kept saying. But luckily for us, Nigerians haven't moved on the issue. And this is the time not to move on. So let's keep talking about them. And wherever they are going to be, the court appearances are, when they start, citizens should be there. Citizens should be there with placards. We should go in there in our numbers. If it's 10,000 people that have to assembly every day, where it is, be there. We should focus on the judges. What are they doing? If you have any information about judges, let it be out there. What are they doing? Where are they going to? Who are they talking to? Who are the people? Are there people who are exchanging money with them? It's a matter of, if you know something, say something. We need to put the spotlight on them for them to know that citizens are watching them, and we want them to do the right thing. We're not asking them to favor us or anything. We're asking them to let justice be. That's the most important thing. Thank you so much. OGF, I had to check now to be sure that I wasn't muted. Okay, I was just trying to unmute someone now, and then it just went on, So I'm going to come back to the participants. So OGF, go ahead, please, and unmute. I see one that says Zoom user. It's always a problem. Hello, OGF, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to you.
Oh.
Yeah, I think you've been voice of the people since all this thing started. Hey, quiet. So I don't know. I just want to say the problem we have here is the judiciary.
Mm-hmm.
In this Nigeria, the court, the judiciary, our police force, INEC. So I just want everybody, let's on our touch there. They are really showing us pepper in this country. They are really cost us pain. Our votes don't count. They do election. They select who they want. They just collect money and put whoever they care, whoever they like to be there. how the people feel don't matter to them. They don't care. So let's focus on that judiciary. I heard that they are going to do a live broadcast on the day of the day that the court is sitting. So I'm hoping it will go like that.
Okay.
So that everybody will hear and know what is happening. Because these people, I'm tired of them, honestly. No, but I don't even value life anymore. Whatever that wants to happen, let it happen.
You know, that's
so
why they will try to weary
the army, they are trying, but not the way they're supposed to do. The army is trying. I think we saw what they did on the election day, both the presidential and the gubernatorial election. But the police is a mess. Honestly, I will not lie. No, yeah, it's assumed they are messing us up big time. I watched a video where a policeman was giving an ordinary civilian gun to pursue another person. Why? Those people, you give a normal man that's not in a police force, nothing, just give him gun, out. You hand your gun over to the person to be chasing after somebody, shooting with a policeman gun. And when somebody tried to video, they will grab the person's phone and smash it. It did not end there. I don't even know what they are trying to prove to us in this country. So let's just focus on that judiciary. That judiciary is our problem. That court. We no longer have confidence on that court. I don't even regard them. I don't even pray to have any problem that will take me to high court or anything. I don't like court people. They are messing us up big time. You understand? Every small thing, they will tell you, go to court. Even normal business, they are doing with somebody. Once the person knows that he has more money, he has more power than you, intimidation, where you will be applying all force and intimidation to make sure that he rip you off that your own side, what you're supposed to gain or what you stand to gain. When you talk, they will say, go to court if you don't like what happened. And they're also doing it on election that people voted, they want this person or they want this person. They will not want it to be like that. I don't even understand. I'm begging them to try change, because a lot of us, next year, nobody knows who will be alive and who will die. Let us enjoy our country before we leave Nigeria now, before we die. So that when you are dying, you die in peace. If you grow old and die, you'll be proud of your country. People are tearing off their passport, rejecting Nigeria, denying citizenship, that they are no longer Nigerians. It's not fair. It's not nice. Old women going on the street naked, doing all sort of things, and they don't still care. They are still planning, cooking evil to unleash on the people. You are opposing people on the citizens, doing all kind of things. The judiciary, the police, the INEC, police, judiciary, they are our problem. They are our problem.
Okay.
The armies are trying. I still give them kudos for what happened on the last election. They saved some lives too.
Thank you so much, OGF.
I beg, let's see that INEC and judiciary. Let's focus on it.
So let's get our guests to be able to explain to us more how we're able to do that and have understanding of all the legal proceedings. Thank you so much, OGF.
No problem. Thank you so much, Madam Aisha. God bless you and keep saving you, protect you always.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was really quite heartbreaking listening to you. And one of the things I'll say is that we will not give up. We continue to stand for our nation. Good must be as tenacious as evil. And no matter what they do, we are not leaving this country for them. We will not leave our country for them. And we'll stay on. We'll stay on and fight the good fight and ensure that justice does triumph at the end of the day. Initially, Barrister Effiong was having issues joining us, but he has been able to join us now. And I think, hello, Barrister, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. You can unmute yourself. Yes, great. So welcome, and apologies, please, for making you go through all that stress in trying to join. So I take absolute responsibility for that because I set up the whole thing. And I think somehow, I'm still learning how to set up.
I'm the one who, no. I'm the one who should be apologizing, not you. And I
but the link
apologize
I sent, you couldn't join in here immediately when you were now ready to join.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's it. So welcome, good afternoon, everyone. And here we are today. Barrister Effiong is in the house. Bros, let me tell you something. Let me make a confession to you. Your first name, they humble me. I will pronounce me here.
Inibehe.
Inibehe. I don't know why that thing, the name, what's the meaning? Can you tell us what the meaning is, please?
The time has not passed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The time has not.
Oh, I mean, we needed to hear that, right? Fellow citizens, yeah, the time has not, our time as Nigerians, it has not passed. And by the grace of God, it will not pass. Oh my goodness, that's such an deep name. Well done. Thank you so much for joining us today. And today we are all here to learn. And so please remember that, like you people normally said, not everyone that is here is learned. So we are lay people and we really want to understand and learn all of this too. Good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining us, this is Live with Aisha, and the topic for today is understanding election petitions and Nigeria's 2023 presidential election. The presidential election just got finished, was done last month, and citizens are still talking about it. It's not yet over because there's a whole lot to be done. To help us understand election petitions and on also the 2023 presidential election is Barrister Inibehe Effiong. He's a human rights lawyer. He got his degree from the University of Uyo, where he engaged in student unionism. So it's not something that started today. He participated in the drafting of the constitution of the Law Students Union. And hopefully when we get to write a new constitution for Nigeria, he will also be part of those that will help in drafting that. He was elected president of LAWSON, that's Law Students Association, even though he was removed by the university management, something he described as terrible act of injustice and persecution. So Mr. Inibehe, it's not new to situations where the law or justice is trying to be subverted. He's focused on human rights and public interest cases. And I'm sure most of us have seen in many of the cases that citizens have really been invested in all over the country. He's also an activist, author, and a social commentator. Barrister Effiong was recently released from Uyo prison, where he spent 30 days for contempt of court. And what was the crime? What was he accused of? Where he stood up and objected to the presence of armed police officers in the courtroom, whereby leading to intimidation of his client. And for this, he was sent to court for 30 days. And I remember the whole of Nigeria, we kept making demands for his release and the injustice that was done to that. There is also something that maybe many of us do not know or are not aware of, and that is a particular quote. And I'm going to read out this quote right now. This particular quote, it's by Barrister Inibehe Effiong. But unfortunately, it's been attributed so many times to other people. One to late Okadibo, and then also some people have tried to attribute it to late Bala Usman. And this is the quote, and I'm sure a lot of us have heard that quote one time or the other, where they said, if you are emotionally attached to your tribe, or political leaning to the point that truth and justice become secondary considerations, your education is useless, your exposure is useless. If you cannot reason beyond petty sentiments, you are a liability to mankind. Inibehe Effiong, June 6th, 2017. And unfortunately, this intellectual property, it's now been sort of like stolen and attributed to other people. So I welcome Barrister Inibehe Effiong to come in and talk to us and listen to us. But before he comes on, please, anytime you hear this quote and anybody attributing it to someone else, direct them to the right person who has said it. And I mean, it's not easy. Intellectual property is something that we really should guard, and it's really, we should make it, it should be something that should be prioritized, and the right people should be given their right ownership of what they have said or they have done or they have put together. So thank you so much. Barrister, comrade, welcome and thank you. So over to you. We are here to learn and learn from you.
I'm wondering whose profile.
I just shot in details. It long past that.
I hope I'm not the one, because you are. Okay, thank you for the compliment. I'm still trying to switch my device to my laptop so that it will be more stable. But for now, allow me to use the phone. That is why my image is not displayed, but very soon that is going to be fixed. I welcome everyone who had found time to join this conversation today. And I must particularly thank my big sister, Aisha, for putting this together. She is someone I have admired over the years and has remained consistent to her convictions. This conversation, as I would call it, has been put together essentially to enable us to underscore certain fundamentals, certain elementary principles that one should pay attention to in discussing the election petitions and, of course, the recently concluded, in quotes, 2023 presidential election. Now, I want to start by saying that the first election petition, as the words themselves ordinarily imply, presupposes that there has to be an election, in which case there must be a contest. And where there is that contest for the purpose of electing people into political positions, it is possible that that contest may end in a manner that is contentious, in a manner that is controversial, in a manner that is disputable. So when dispute arises, as it were, what is done is for the person who is aggrieved or the person who is activating that dispute or who is raising that dispute to basically set the machinery of law in motion. Now, the instrument, the asset of the law for doing so is what is known as petition. So essentially, you participate in an election as a candidate or political party, and then you are aggrieved by the outcome of the election. What gives you the right to file a petition at the tribunal or court? When you file that petition, that is when it is said that the person who has brought the petition, known as the petitioner, has taken legal steps to challenge the return and declaration, right? So you have a declaration and then you have a return. Declaration relates to number of votes cast and scored. Return essentially relates to the official pronouncement of the person who has scored what the law calls majority of lawful votes cast. Please, when I use these words, one must know that the words are used very deliberately and intentionally. Recall I said majority of lawful vote cast, and in the course of this conversation or this discussion, one will appreciate why I said we must pay attention to these words that I'm using. So lawful vote cast presupposes that a return is not supposed to be made, right? If the vote cast or the majority of votes accruable or scored by a particular candidate or party is not lawful. So it is not enough for one to have majority of votes, one must have majority of lawful votes cast. Now, where a party or candidate who participated in the said election is aggrieved and decides to activate the machinery of justice, the instrumentality of the law to challenge the outcome of the electoral process through the petition, one can bring that petition on several grounds, which I'm going to highlight. But let us note, by way of further introductory remarks, that only two entities in law, or two persons as it were, can file a petition, either conjunctively or disjunctively. I will explain that shortly. Who are these two entities or persons? One is a political party. The second is the candidate, a candidate. In other words, the local standard, that is the standing, the legal right to activate the law to challenge the outcome of an election by way of petition can only accrue to a petitioner if that petitioner is deemed, seen, and known to be either a candidate that participated in that election or a political party. So in simple terms, we have 18 registered political parties in Nigeria on record. It is only the political parties that participated. By participation, I mean that had candidates, that filed candidates, that can go to the tribunal to challenge the outcome of an election. It is also only a candidate that can do so. Recall I had just a while ago said that this can be done either conjunctively or disjunctively. Conjunctively in the sense that both the candidate and the party may file a joint petition, in which case you will have a first petitioner and a second petitioner. Or disjunctively, in which case the party can decide to go to court without the candidate. The candidate can also decide to go to court independent of the party. So that right that accrues to the party and the candidate is exercisable, as I said, I want to reiterate, either conjunctively or disjunctively. Now, under the current Electoral Act, if you look at the provisions of the Act, section 134 and the rest, the Electoral Act 2022 has essentially articulated the grounds, the legal grounds, under which or upon which a petition can be brought. So the fact that one has grievances arising from the conduct of a particular election does not automatically vest, clothe, or empower the person. By person here, I mean a party or candidate, to file a petition. The petition has to be circumscribed to the grounds that are provided for under the Electoral Act, grounds that are cognizable under the Electoral Act. And under our current Electoral Act, there are three broad grounds under which a petition can be brought. One, the petitioner can file the petition on the ground that the person returned elected or declared and returned elected did not score majority of lawful votes cast, right? Two, that the election is invalid by reason of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. Three, that the person returned elected as at the time of the election was not qualified to participate in the election. There used to be a fourth ground, which was exclusion, meaning that under the 2010 Electoral Act that amended at that time, before it was repealed by the Electoral Act 2022, where a candidate was validly nominated to participate in the election, and that candidate and his party is excluded from the election, that party had the right to approach the tribunal to challenge the outcome of that election. But somehow, mysteriously, under the extant Electoral Act 2022, we saw that that provision was expunged by the National Assembly, which for me is going to lead to a lot of disputes within the legal community, because I feel that once a party has complied with the prerequisites for nomination, that party has the right to file a candidate. This is not just a question of the Electoral Act. It is a serious constitutional question, which I believe the Supreme Court will have to pronounce upon. In fact, I have a petitioner, some people that are talking to me in one of the states in the House of Assembly election, where their party's logo was not properly represented in the ballot paper. So let's assume that the logo of the, as it's been insinuated in some constituencies in Lagos were omitted from the ballot paper. The Electoral Act does not give the candidate the right to go to court. That used to be the provision under the 2010 new Electoral Act. I believe that is a problem for the National Assembly, because that will have to be addressed by the court. So I needed to lay that background for one to understand, because except one appreciates these introductory remarks that I've made, some of the technical aspects of the matter that I will be delving into, one may find it very difficult to appreciate them, but I'll be very much delighted to clarify areas that may look very technical, because really, I kid you not, if there's an aspect of law that is really, really specialized and technical, it is election petitions. And like every lawyer knows, election petitions is sui generis. That is how we say it. It's sui generis in the sense that it is special, it is different, it is of law, practice, and principles that are applicable to general litigation and cases are not applicable to election petition. Right? Election petition has its own specialized rules. It is not governed by general principles of law, even though, of course, the Federal High Court rules applies to some extent, but generally, election petition has its own rules and principles. Now, as we are aware, INEC held, as we are all aware, an election into the office of president on the 25th of February, 2023. And in that election, several parties and candidates participated, including the Labour Party. Now, that election took place in a manner in serious crisis in the country that had basically challenged the very foundation of what is.
But Barrister, yeah. Hello, Barrister, can you hear me?
Our democratic experience. Agreed rightfully to said elections, please. Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know what's happening, the network. So you just a little bit. I hope it's not the network trying to do one thing or the other, but you're dragging a little bit. Or maybe you need to adjust position sometimes in the house.
So because I said I'm going.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm actually working to switch. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
I'm
maybe that's the reason.
From my device,
your mobile phone to your laptop. Maybe that would be the reason.
No
problem. Then go ahead.
Yeah, my laptop is connected to my Wi-Fi at home, so that will make it seamless. I'm already sorting it. In the next 5 minutes, that will be resolved.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm just laying the background that Labour Party and the candidate, Peter Obi, went to the tribunal and they have filed a petition. Recall I had earlier explained what a petition is. Now, that petition is premised and predicated on certain grounds, which are derivable from the 3 grounds I had earlier explained. I have had a preview of the said petition. I have perused it, and I have taken time to digest it. Now, for the purpose of our discussion today, I will not be going very deep into the evidentiary issues, matters relating to the evidence that will be required to prove the petition. I will also be very careful in how I respond to the issues raised in the petition. I will try not to be conclusive. I will just state what I believe should be the general principles regarding those issues, and then what the one should be paying attention to going forward. So I don't want to make this conversation magisterial in nature, so that no one would leave here with a conclusive opinion that this is what is the outcome of the petition is going to be. I'm very conscious of the lawyer, but I will just state broadly what the issues are, what the principles of law relating to those issues are, and then the areas of interest. And of course, I will be then willing to take questions.
Okay, so Barrister, before you go on, so from YouTube, we have about 770 people on YouTube who are following the conversation. So some of them are begging if you could just put on your camera. If you've done that switch already, you know, it helps more when you're seeing the person who is speaking. I'm one of those persons that always, when I'm looking at somebody, it enters. So if you've sorted that out and you're able to do that, that would really be lovely. Thank you.
Yes, it's going to be switched on, I assure you, in a very short time. The system is already coming on.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So as I said, the petition of the Labour Party is one that has raised very germane, recondite, and intriguing constitutional and legal issues. I, as an undergraduate, have always been fascinated by election petition. As a matter of fact, in my final year in the university, I think I was basically the only undergraduate student of my set that undertook my final year research project in election petition, you know, which with the topic issues and challenges in the adjudication of election petition and the future of democracy in Nigeria. So this is an area of law that I've always been very intrigued and very interested in. And that has also influenced the way in which I have followed the electoral process, you know, for my time for the couple of years. And I have also had to study certain fundamental precedents, Supreme Court decisions, and so on, that explain some of the principles I'm going to be speaking to. Now, recall I had explained who can present a petition. And please pardon me if I try in my explanation of law to break it down. So I may not belabor you with so much of the sections and provisions. I will try to make it in a manner that everybody can relate to. Now, the Labour Party and the candidate, Peter Obi, have filed a joint petition. And I'm aware that I think Friday or Thursday or so, they have gotten an order to serve the petition on the respondents. The respondents to an election petition, by law, there can only be 3 sets of respondents. The first or the primary respondent is the electoral umpire, which we usually list as the first respondent, INEC. The second is the candidate, and the third is the party. But of course, there is no rule regarding how, in terms of priority, how they should be listed, but this is what the practice is. So because it is INEC that conducts the election, it is expected that it should have the primary responsibility to give account of that election. Now, in the petition filed by Labour Party, if you have a copy of it, you would have seen that these 3 entities have been listed. That is INEC, the party, APC, and its candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And interestingly, they have also joined Kashim Shettima. And I will explain why Kashim Shettima is part of that, because he is the candidate. And the Supreme Court has ruled in the James Faleke's case that a running mate is also a candidate and had every right to bring a petition. And some persons have asked me, why is that not part of the petition, being a running mate to Peter Obi? Some people within the obedient movement have reached out to me to seek answer. Let me just quickly say that, as I explained earlier, the right to present a petition accrues or inures, as lawyers would say, to a candidate or party. So there was no need to join that. That does not affect the validity, the competence, or the propriety of the petition. The petition is on solid footing as far as the question of local standard is concerned. Now, what are the issues? Again, in understanding the issues, you must also know the laws governing election. One is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, some of which provisions I may refer to. You have second, the Electoral Act, 2022. The third primary source of our electoral law is the guidelines and regulations issued by INEC, pursuant to the provisions of the Electoral Act. The guidelines themselves are what we call, it is a subsidiary legislation, right? You have the Constitution, in the order of priority, the Constitution, the Electoral Act, the INEC guidelines, and what they call the election officials manual for election officials. I have all these documents, I have scrutinized them, in relation to the current election. Now, what INEC was required to do under the law was to conduct election in a manner that will be consistent, with the provisions of the Constitution, the provisions of the Electoral Act, and of course, the provisions of his own guidelines, because INEC issued this guideline. Why did they issue the guideline? Because, as we know, power corrupts, and you cannot say you want to do an election and the laws that should govern that election is only in your head. No, it has to be written in a manner that every single person can see it. So that there will be no dispute. And when I go to the issue of BVAS and IREF, you will understand why all these preliminary points I'm making are very, very important. Now, what did INEC do for the purpose of the election? INEC issued guidelines, and in that guidelines, made pursuant to the provisions of the Electoral Act, the power given to it under the Electoral Act, stating in specificity or particularity how some aspects of the electoral process was going to be conducted, the rules that were to govern the election, and of course, minded by the Constitution and the Electoral Act. Now, what is Peter Obi saying? Peter Obi and the Labour Party in their petition have predicated their petition, interestingly, on all the grounds, all the three principal grounds under the Electoral Act. One, they are contending that Tinubu did not score majority of lawful vote cast. You recall again why I said pay attention to my choice of words. They are very deliberate and intentional. I said majority of lawful vote cast, not majority of votes. So you may have majority of votes, but you don't have majority of lawful vote cast. So it is possible that Tinubu had majority of votes, but the question for the tribunal, for the Court of Appeal is, those votes, were they lawful votes? So if they were not lawful votes, why was the return elected? So Peter Obi is contending that.
Can I ask a question, Barrister? What makes something, what is considered lawful votes?
Well, lawful votes is a vote that is cast in accordance with the law. It is also a vote that is declared in accordance with the law. So there is the casting and there is the declaration. Again, I'm going to break down the process because part of the confusion people have about election is that they see election as a voter. But for me as a lawyer, I don't see election in that manner. For a voter, election is an act, right? You just go and vote. Or when a declaration is made, no, election is a process. So when the question of lawfulness or unlawfulness of a vote is raised, what the lawyers will look at, what the court or the tribunal will look at is this vote, did it comply with the process that is supposed to be constitutive of an election? What is that process? If I should even go to the ones that are most pertinent from the day of election, you have accreditation, you have voting, you have transfer, which is an innovation under the 22 Electoral Act, Section 60, subsection 5. Please pay attention, accreditation, you have to be accredited, and then you vote. When you vote and everyone in the polling unit has voted, the third stage is supposed to be the transfer. And after the transfer, you have the collation, right? After the collation, you have the declaration, the return. And in all these stages, the law assigns responsibilities. For the purpose of voting, accreditation and voting, you have the presiding officers, the assistant presiding officers, and so on. That these are the people you relate with as the voter. For the purpose of transfer, you still have that duty ascribable to the presiding officers. That is what the law says. When they have finished, they now commit the remainder of the process to people known as the collation officers. So you now go from your polling unit to the registration area, otherwise known as the Ward Collation Center, where the collation is done. From there, it proceeds to the local government collation. From there, it proceeds to the constituency collation. And of course, depending on what election, it goes to the final collation. For the purpose of presidential election, the Constitution says the entire Nigerian Federation shall be regarded as one constituency with a returning officer. So when these processes are not complied with, any vote arriving there from is not a lawful vote. So let us take the issue of accreditation. If 5 people are accredited and 10 votes is cast, that is not lawful vote. That is not lawful vote. If 20 people are registered and only 5 people are allowed to vote, and 10 were disenfranchised, and there's evidence of disenfranchisement, again, that is not lawful vote. So these are all the processes that has to be complied with. If you have voted and the result is not transferred to the IREF as required by law, again, I submit that that is not a lawful vote. So for Tinubu's vote to be lawful, it has to be known and shown that these processes were complied with. That is when we say lawful vote cast.
Okay.
Right. So I had spoken about the what the processes is supposed to be. I'm now going to delve into the election. And before I do that, I would like you to time me, because the temptation to be too elaborate is always there. I want to be sure that I speak within the confines of the time. If I have to go in, make this a lecture, we can have this for 3 hours. I will not be tired. So I would like you to limit me to time.
Do you know, Barrister? Well, it depends on you. We have 2 to 3 hours. The program can be 2 to 3 hours. It depends on how you want. I actually went into a student mode, and I just love the way you're breaking it for every one of us to understand. Most especially, just let me recap of some of the things, like where you talked about election is a process, to a lawyer, whereas to us it's just an act. We go there, we cast our vote, that's it. But everything has to be through the process. And I'm glad you explained what that lawful vote is all about. What constitutes a lawful vote? Was it was it cast in accordance with the law? Was it collated in accordance with the law and all of that? These are things that are really very pertinent for us all to understand. So thank you so much. So what timing do you want me to you? Would you want anyone to take questions now? Or what time would you want me to give?
Grounds of the petition before questions can come.
Okay. So
yeah.
So what time do you want? It's all you. We're here.
Yeah, I assure you, I'll try to take lesser time than what you have generously offered.
Okay.
Now, meanwhile, I'm still coming on video just about now or soon. Now, the 3 grounds of the petition are that, as I explained, Labour Party and the candidate Peter Obi have contended. I'm focusing on the Labour Party petition. The Peter Obi, the article petition is also there. If there is need to make reference to them, because the grounds of the petitions are similar, even though there are certain areas of peculiarities. One, they are contending that Tinubu did not score majority of lawful vote cast. Recall I explained what lawful vote cast is.
Yeah.
Secondly, that Tinubu, as at the time of the election, was not qualified. Thirdly, they are saying that Tinubu did not, he was not qualified for the election. He did not score majority of lawful votes. And yes, thirdly, that the election is invalid by reason of non-compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Act. Right?
Yes.
Now, what is the issues, or what are the issues they have raised upon which these very interesting grounds are predicated? Right? I will start with the first one, majority of lawful votes cast. And permit me to say that the petition is about 100 pages. So I'm not going to speak to every page of the petition. I will just speak broadly about the issues therein. One, they are saying that Tinubu's vote is not lawful because he has not satisfied certain prerequisites, including the one enshrined in section 134 of the Constitution regarding geographical spread. Because under the Constitution, you have to show that you have scored 25% votes in 2/3 of the states and the FCT. The argument of the petitioners, Peter Obi and Labour Party, is that Tinubu did not score 25% vote in the FCT, as enjoined by Section 134 of the Constitution, and therefore ought not to have been declared. And the argument is based on the school of thought, the jurisprudence, that for the purpose of election, that provision of Section 134 has to be read disjunctively. In other words, that the requirement of 25% votes in 2/3 of the states is separable, distinct, different, and independent of the requirement of 25% votes in the FCT. This is the argument. This is what they are contending. However, whether that argument is going to hold up at the court will be based on several things, but ultimately will be the decision of the Court of Appeal to make. But that is what their petition is saying. So they have argued that for the purpose of the election, Tinubu should not have been declared. The other species of majority of lawful votes, which the petitioners are saying the second and third respondents, Tinubu and the APC, did not meet, is that they have also contended that the votes ascribed, counted, and declared for the second and third respondents, Tinubu and the APC, that those votes are not true reflective. They are not reflective of the actual vote cast. In other words, Peter Obi has contended that in certain states, and he has isolated about 9 states for the purpose of his petition, including Lagos, Port Harcourt, Plateau, and some other states, where he has highlighted the results based on the Form EC8 series, or particularly Form EC8A. Form EC8A is the polling unit result. And he's saying that on the basis of the results as counted, recorded on the polling unit results, that the votes that he had were seemingly ostensibly declared by INEC in those disputed states does not reflect the actual vote cast. Again, take your mind to what I said was lawful votes. So he's saying that in Lagos, for example, that the votes recorded for him, and the same argument that had been made for Rivers, was far lower than what he actually scored. And that if the cumulative lawful votes cast for him is computed, and the unlawful votes recorded and declared for Tinubu are excluded, that he ought to be the one who should have been returned elected. Now, the second ground of the petition is the argument that the candidate of the APC, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was not qualified to contest the election, right? And what is the indices of disqualification that the petitioners are canvassing? The indices of disqualification is primarily on the question of Tinubu's link to drugs in the United States, right? The Special Agent Musk investigation, which crystallized in a forfeiture order, recorded, incidented, and documented in the US. And we have seen certified copies of documents that speaks to this. The evidential value of those documents is a matter for the courts to determine. And secondly, the implications and the applicability of those documents or the contents thereof in relation to our election, it is also a matter for the Court of Appeal to determine. But for the petitioners, on the basis of their Tinubu's forfeiture of monies to the US government, he ought to have been disqualified. And that is based on Section 137 of the Constitution. I'll just read subsection D. It says, he is under a sentence of death imposed by any competent court of law or tribunal in Nigeria, or a sentence of imprisonment or fine for any offense involving dishonesty or fraud by whatever name called, or for any other offense imposed on him by any court or tribunal, This can be construed to mean by any court or tribunal, not necessarily in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, okay.
Clear that the sentence of death has to be imposed on a court or tribunal in Nigeria, that is imprisonment or fine, involving dishonesty or fraud by whatever name, or for any offense imposed on him by any court. Again, lawyers will make a whole lot of arguments about this. When the thing about the law is that why lawyers like to pride themselves as learned, this provision says it all. Why lawyers carry that pride, we are learned. Whether it is a valid pride or not is a different matter entirely. But when you look at this section, as someone who is educated, you can give a meaning because you are reading it, you are reading the English in the provision, but the lawyers are not looking at the English, the grammar. The lawyers are looking more deeply into the meaning within the legal context of the words used. For example, if this provision on the face of it, you can say that the conviction or sentence has to be one that is imposed by a court in Nigeria. But the other argument is, if we look at it, it looks like what is contemplated envisages one that is imposed by any court or tribunal, whether in Nigeria or elsewhere, or substituted by a competent authority for any other sentence imposed on it by such court or tribunal. I believe this is the basis for the argument about Tinubu's eligibility. It will now be for the court in Nigeria to determine the consequence in law of the forfeiture, whether that forfeiture can be elevated to the status of conviction or a sentence or criminal sanction. I'm aware there are Supreme Court decisions on this point. I have reviewed some of them. I will not speak so much into them, right? Because I mean, the petition is there for the lawyers to argue, but I just needed to have a background. Now, that is the argument. The Chicago University thing, I haven't seen that in the petition, just to clarify. The question of Tinubu's academic qualification is not part of Peter Obi's petition. I haven't seen that. I have not seen that part of that issue in Peter Obi's petition. I have not seen, I'm still reviewing it for now. I haven't seen that. So the question of disqualification is primarily premised on the forfeiture, which for me, I'm very interested in seeing how the Nigerian court is going to approach that. Lastly, and more importantly, if I must say, is the question of non-compliance with the provisions of the provisions of the Electoral Act and the INEC guidelines. Now, what they have contended is very broad, but in summary, the petitioners are contending, among others, that the failure to transfer or transmit, they are one and the same under the law. The Electoral Act in Section 60 uses the expression transfer. But of course, when you look at paragraph 34, in fact, when you look at Section 60, subsection 5 of the Electoral Act, and you even go to some other sections of the, including Section 65, several sections, transfer of the results, of course, is transmission, right? Now, Peter Obi has contended, which for me, I mean, is if there is a ground, I can say with all sense of humility that I know cannot be defended, it is this ground, the question of non-transmission or non-transfer. It is now left for the courts to determine what the consequence should be, because there is overwhelming evidence that at the time Tinubu was declared, not even the date of the election, but at the time of declaration, because by the law, as at today, by what is written in black and white, the transfer should have taken place at the time the result is counted and declared at the polling unit, live, real time, as INEC says in their guidelines. They are contending that majority of the votes were not transmitted, and therefore the Electoral Act was not complied with. They have also raised issues regarding mutilation of results of the Form ECA series, alterations on the results. Several issues have been raised. They have also raised issues regarding the conduct of INEC itself. All this comes under the ground of non-compliance. But guess what? Election is not nullified or cannot be nullified because you have proved non-compliance with the Electoral Act. Election can only be disqualified on grounds of non-compliance if that non-compliance is substantial. So for us lawyers and the courts, what is material, what is imperative is substantial non-compliance, right? And I believe as I go on, I will speak to what may be taken to be substantial non-compliance for the purpose of an election. So as I said, I have highlighted the grounds and I have stated the premise in general. There are several other issues in the petition I haven't touched on which the petition is based. So those are essentially the issues. I will want to maybe take one or two questions while I try to put on my video before I continue with the conversation.
Thank you so much, Barrister. You don't even understand. I have one of the viewers on YouTube who said that you've just taken us to school. And I must agree, that's actually the sentiment. I've been writing notes, so I didn't even remember what are the questions. It's just putting that note and just learning. It's really such a huge opportunity. Please, if you have any question, can you please drop it in the chat box, please? We'll try to take it up from there before we get to the end where people can speak, because sometimes, you know, when people are speaking, it takes so much time. But in the meantime, let me go to, there are certain questions that have come up from YouTube. I was just trying to, let me bring up one that we have right now. This one says, INEC and APC have argued that the electoral law didn't say that results will be transmitted directly from the polling units. Is that true? That's one question. Then there's another one where someone is asking, can INEC how do I put it now? How did they even put it? That the guidelines, right, are INEC guidelines. So would INEC be held to its own guidelines, or is it capable of now saying that, oh, they changed their mind, sort of? So these are two questions that we have right now. Please, for those on Zoom, kindly use the chat and put in your questions, please. Thank you.
Please, can you repeat the question, the first question?
So the first question is the fact that that INEC and APC are arguing that the electoral law didn't say that the results will be transmitted directly from the polling unit. He's asking whether that's true. Is that what the law didn't specify?
Well, quickly, that is not true. That is very far from the truth. I would have loved them to say what the law then specifies. What does the law say? If they are saying that is not what the law says, then the burden is, they should now go ahead to tell us what the law says. Oh, now, all you need to do is to look at section 60 subsection 5. Section 60 sub 5 is clear that there shall be a transfer, right? The result shall be transferred after it is declared. It says the presiding officer shall transfer the results in a manner prescribed by the commission. In a manner prescribed by the commission. Now, what manner has the commission prescribed? You see, the problem with Nigeria is impunity. It is the arrogance of power, where people will so boldly and shamelessly go on record to make submissions, take positions and canvass arguments that in a civilized society should not be tolerable, should not be accommodated, should not be listened to. If you are saying that INEC did not state, or the law did not state, that the results should be transferred in real time. So what is the mode of transmission? Is it in the head of Professor Mahmoud? Do we need to get, I don't know what I should call it. How are we going to know? Is it in the realm of conjecture? Is this something that we need spiritualists and prophets to decipher? Do we need voodoo to know the mode of transmission? The answer is no. Right? Yeah. Which is exactly why the law, yes, the law says in the manner prescribed by the commission. So the question we must all answer is that did the commission prescribe any manner? Right? What manner, or to put it differently, what manner of transmission did INEC prescribe? I cite for you paragraph 38 of the INEC guidelines and regulations for the conduct of the 2022 general elections, which is clear, unequivocal. There are several other paragraphs that the transmission shall be done in real time.
Okay.
So that is what the law says. That is what INEC, that is the manner of transmission that INEC itself has prescribed.
Okay, Barrister.
I'm signing. Aisha, sorry, I'm trying to sign in.
Okay, yeah, for the face. I just didn't want to disturb your flow. There are a few people who we actually asking, because there are people who are, or is it audiovisual, they call them now. So while you're doing that, a few questions that have come in also. Someone said, are the uploaded results taken by voters via their cameras admissible as evidence in the courts? That's a question from Felix. We also have another question here that says, Tinubu's forfeiture happened 30 years ago. Does this not fall well outside the 10-year period as stipulated in section 137? That's another question.
Well, let me take them one
after the
other, right? I'll start with the last one. If you look at that 137, you see that there are several paragraphs, which is why I said lawyers will have a lot of debate on this matter. You have the paragraph, the one I read, section 137D. You have the E, paragraph D and E. The requirement of 10 years is in E, which relates essentially to conviction by the Code of Conduct Tribunal. The paragraph D that I read does not have that timeline. So the question of applicability, or which of them should be applicable to this case, of course, will have to be resolved by the court. But for the purpose of our discussion, the provision which I had earlier read verbatim, that is paragraph D of that 137, does not have that 10-year rule. The 10-year rule is actually in 137E, which, as I said, essentially seems to relate to conviction by the Code of Conduct Bureau. So whether, again, recall I said I want to speak generally to the issues. I have my opinion about these matters, but I want to speak as objectively as possible, state the principles, and then leave us to go home, hopefully more informed, without necessarily sounding magisterial or as if I am the court or the tribunal that is going to make the pronouncements. I don't know if I have that question. So all you simply need to do, and you don't need a lawyer to resolve these disputes. If you Google the Constitution as amended, if you can see the amended version, look at that 137, read D and E. You will see that that 10-year rule is in E. The D part of it I read, you know, that requirement is not there. So whether it is applicable or which should be applicable will be for the Court of Appeal to decide. Yeah, the other question.
Okay, so the other question is on the person that said, are the uploaded results taken by voters via their cameras admissible?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, they are not admissible. I can tell you that 100%. All those results you saw on social media, you cannot take the report. The only admissible result is the CTC, the certified copy, But the videos that were counted, showing the counting of the votes, those videos are admissible.
Okay.
Right? For the purpose of laying credence to any result you'll be relying on, the CTC. Because by law, you are allowed to apply for inspection. That is why Peter Obi was saying that INEC had not released documents to him. And the reason for that is that the document, the result on IREF, is supposed to be authentic. It's supposed to be what you can relate to. But for the purpose of filing a petition or proving your case, you are not going to go to IREF or to Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or WhatsApp or what have you to now take the result that people have snapped and posted. You cannot tender that at the tribunal. It's not admissible. And the reason is simple, because it is a public document. By law, only 2 classes of public documents are admissible. Either the primary copy, which is the original copy, or the certified copy. The only instance where secondary copy of a public document, which is not the original, that is not certified, can be admissible, is where there's an exception. That is where the document is not contentious, but the content of the document is not disputable, right? That is 1. 2, where it is attached to an affidavit, right? For example, your school certificate, you file a case, you can actually exhibit it in an affidavit. But where that affidavit is in relation to a proceeding that is hostile and contentious, you can only rely on the certified copy because of where the document is coming from. Otherwise, I mean, people can just wake up every day and then use government documents that are not genuine in court. So it has to be either the original itself or the certified copy. And regarding certification, Section 115 of the Evidence Act is clear on what amounts to certification, who can certify, and the requirements of proper certification and so on. So it is only INEC that has custody of election materials that can actually certify. So I believe I've answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. You've done that. Thank you so much. I've not seen any question from Zoom. I don't know. I hope the chat, I can see the chat. I hope everybody can too. So I don't know why it's not being used. I hope it's not a technical problem. I think let's continue so that when we get towards the end, people will now be allowed to speak up, because we want to be able to get in as much as we can as we go on. Thank you so much, Barrister.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry that has taken a bit longer to, the Zoom setting that I'm joining will require authentication. So that has a bit delayed the process. But
okay. Okay, you joined directly. Okay, so are there 2 devices now? Let me go look for this one. You're actually the co-host.
Oh, okay. So that's
okay. There's a question. Yeah, you are. I made you a co-host, so you can be able to do this thing. So there's a question here from Dudu Bakam. Says, so what will happen to original results in INEC's possession that were visibly altered?
Well, of course. I mean, what I can tell you. Please hold on. Aisha, just give me a second.
Okay, we'll hold on to that question.
Yeah, second device is on.
Okay, your second device is on.
Let me just continue with the program. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay, no problem. So I'm sure, in the words of Stella, we are all in a classroom. I am in a classroom. At one time, I had to put off my phone, run off to go and get my Electoral Act and my Constitution because this is such a great opportunity of learning. And there's nothing that beats knowledge when you're able to have that understanding of what things are and how they are, and what are the things that are needed. And let me just recap of some of the things that Barrister has taught us today. It's on the issue of what is the process of election. You have accreditation, voting, transfer, collation, declaration. All of these are the things that are the process of the election. And therefore, them as lawyers, it's not the way we look at it, that election is a process and not just an act itself, and every of this process must follow the guidelines of what is supposed to be. Also to know also that videos are admissible in the court. So the videos that people did of the process that was being done, that are out there, they can be as admissible in the court. But the pictures that people took and are out there on social media, those ones, according to Barrister Effiong, those ones will not be admissible in the court. And then he talked about what constitutes legal votes, what are considered legal votes, and this will be in terms of the process of the voting. The guidelines must be, must be properly followed, and also on the issue of the ones that was collated, the results that were collated. So it's possible for somebody to have majority of the votes, but not majority of the legal votes that were cast. So also in talking about the respondents and the fact that citizens can't do a petition, can't go to court. They are also like Barrister when he comes in, because one of the things that I had asked, I remember when he replied, and I was like, oh my goodness. One of the things I had asked initially was that, is it possible for those citizens whose results were altered, because also in the guideline, citizens were given the opportunity and the permission to be able to take pictures of these results to be sure of it. And then you go to IRED, you find out that the result from what you counted, what you took is different. And I was thinking, can we have like a class action? And they said, no, it's only, it's only those people that two sets of people that can go for, that can do a petition. And that's the parties, the political party, and also the candidates. And I understand why this would be, because otherwise people might try to abuse the system and just overwhelm the tribunal with so many different petitions. But there must be a way where citizens can come, whether it is maybe the normal court or to criminal. I don't know whether in the criminal courts or any of that, for citizens to also be able to come together and go to the courts to say this crime has happened, because it's actually a crime. This alteration that has happened also. So these are Barrister, are you good to go? There's also, I don't know whether this question has been answered. There's also the question of whether INEC is bound by its own guideline. Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, he did. Yeah, he did that. He did answer that yes, indeed it is. There has to be, in black and white, what are the things that are needed to be done in terms of the guidelines itself. So it's not something that people will just say, oh, it depends, or you need a magician or something like that to explain those guidelines or have them. Or for those of us who are joining now, we've been having this conversation. We've had Barrister Inibehe Effiong, who is with us and putting us through on what election petitions are all about, and also more specifically, and also the 2023 presidential election. It's been an interesting conversation where we are getting to know what are the different things, what are the basic things that are going on. Barrister, are you good to continue again? So while we await Barrister, let me bring in Itoro. Hello, Itoro. Good afternoon. If you can please unmute yourself.
Hear me?
Hello, Itoro, go ahead.
Sorry, I think the Zoom chat was disabled for just the participants. So I think if you're a co-host, you can write in it. Oh. So I just wanted you to know that we can't chat.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that.
So
okay,
yes, that's why I've been.
It's not everyone.
No, I think the person who wrote in the Zoom chat is a co-host, and I think
yes, that's a co. But you can see the chat, so you can't write. You can only
see, but we can't write. So we wanted to let you know.
Okay, thank you about that. So these are feedback that need to be taken care of. So next time we are having that, we'll put that into consideration.
But so I just wanted to add, I mean, a few of the things I wanted to ask have already been asked as well. Okay. But, this has really been insightful for all of us here. And I know, you guys, everybody has a lot going on, but it would be really good if we could have this, once every few weeks or something, just to keep us to have an authentic place we can get information from, because I think there's a lot of interpretations, there's a lot of stuff flying around, and if you're not an expert, it's very hard to discern what's true and what's not true and all of that kind of stuff. So I've really been, I've really appreciated everything I've heard, and it's really been insightful. So please, if you guys could do more of this stuff, it would be really amazing. But it's a great effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Live with Aisha, God willing, will be going on every Saturday at 6 p.m. Nigerian time, which is currently 1 p.m. Washington, D.C. time. And then everybody will get their own time. At 6 p.m. Nigeria time, inshallah, we'll be having this. We'll be bringing in guests. Let's explain, let's learn more. Everything is always about knowledge, and it's always better when we come from a place of knowledge. So learning is something that we'll really do. So we'll work on that and ensure that we bring in people that really would educate us and make us more empowered with the knowledge that we have. Thank you so much, Ituru, for that. Hello, John. Can you please unmute yourself? Go ahead. In the meantime, we're waiting for Barrister. When you're ready, just let us. So go ahead.
Thank you so much. I was about to say the same thing that this is John from Saudi Arabia. I was about to say the same thing that Ituru just mentioned. And I'm very happy for you setting up this awareness, because a lot of things has been really made us to understand how the process work. Because what we can really see, I don't know if Inibehe is listening, we can really see that INEC, they really set up, organize this thing to favor APC. But at the end of the day, because apart from the presidential election, they are seriously violating their own law, their own rules, So what I wanted to really ask Inibehe, how can they hold INEC accountable? Because there's no accountability from the INEC side. There is no accountability. Is there any process in the constitution, in the guideline, that could hold them accountable for their action?
Thank you so much for that. Why am I getting an echo of my voice? Thank you so much, John, for that. So can you please try the chat and see if the people can send in messages? Because I just saw something now. I think I enabled chat. Oh, yes, fantastic. Somebody said finally. I'm so sorry. It's all about just learning this thing, but I promise you guys, when I learn, I usually become one small pro. So even for those on YouTube, so please, we enable that. Finally, yes, we can. So please, let's do it in such a way that we don't, yes, I can see it's working now, so you don't need to tell them, it's working. So let's just have the questions so that we can easily read them out when it's needed. In the meantime, the other co-host, can you please find out if Inibehe is still on this chat? Trying to see. Okay, Oh, okay. I think he was knocked out. Oh my, and then my phone is also on silent. So if he was calling me, I wouldn't even know he was calling me. But anyway, I think we'll bring him back. It's really been such an interesting, enlightening, illuminating moment. For me, I love things like this. You just soaking up the knowledge, because nothing is as powerful as knowledge. if you are armed with knowledge, it's a whole lot of things. And so as we go on, even as citizens, making demands and the things we need to do, having this knowledge helps us a lot. And I think, welcome back, Barrister. I didn't realize that you had actually been, that you had dropped off and you were requested to come in and you were sort of like in the waiting room. So I just saw that now. So welcome back. You are unmuted now, and yes, and I can see your camera, everything is on. Go ahead, Barrister.
Yes, the security protocol for this meeting seems to be stricter than that of Aso Rock.
I'm so sorry about that. It's just like if you don't do that, because it's put in the space, it's online. There are some people that just go around disrupting Zoom meetings. So sorry about that. Welcome back.
I apologize. I think we are good now.
Yes.
So
we can see your face for those who want to see your face.
Okay, so I believe there would have been a few questions. I had tried to basically give a broad or general overview of what the issues in the petition are. And then I also explain in brevity the principles that are determinative of those issues, the principles that will govern the resolution of those issues. And I did say that the petition of the Labour Party and Peter Obi are premised on the 3 grounds which I highlighted. I also spoke to the provisions of section 134 of the Constitution, and of course, several other 137, several other relevant provisions, including the provisions of the Electoral Act. So I don't know if there are other questions while I was away. I would like to respond.
There have been some questions. There's one here that says, can the polling unit agents who signed results sheets be brought in as witnesses to counter falsified results? So that's a question.
No, there was a question before I left about what becomes of original results in the custody of INEC that is altered. I think that is
yes. Question. So it said, what will happen to original results in INEC's possession that were visibly altered? Yes.
Look, before I even speak to the effect of alteration, and this is not particularly about the Labour Party case, I'm speaking generally. I have said on record, and I have said it on several different fora, that INEC is an intrinsically corrupt institution, and I say that with all sense of responsibility. The flaws that are inherent in INEC is one that Nigeria will have to address at the point. Part of the frustration you face as a petitioner, which is why some of us are very bitter about some of the precedents that our courts have laid down, the Supreme Court in particular, on election petition. One of those principles, or two. One is the principle regarding burden of proof in election petition. The Justice Mohammed West Electoral Reform Committee made a very fantastic recommendation that the burden of proof in election petition should be placed by law on the electoral umpire, in quotes, INEC. It should be the duty of INEC to show that the election was conducted in substantial compliance with the law. Because if that burden of proof is on them, come to the court, come before the tribunal, convince us that this election that you collected 300 billion, for example, to organize, substantially complied with the law, INEC will begin to take their duty serious. But now the burden of proof primarily is on the petitioner. And that burden is like, going to Mount Everest. It is a very huge burden that one has to surmount. Why am I raising that point? The other, before I even say to why I'm delving into that, is the principle of presumption of regularity. In law, in election petition, is the principle of presumption of regularity in favor of actions and INEC and results declared by INEC. So even when on the faith of an election result, you have seen alterations, the law presumes that results to be regular, proper, and valid. It is now your duty as the petitioner to demonstrate why that results cannot be countenanced. And guess what? You don't do this uniform. You do this in singularity, polling unit by polling unit. So in an election petition, in Nigeria, for example, thousands of polling units, right? You have to speak to, in your petition, your complaint has to be premised on the grievances you have in every single polling unit. If you look at Peter Obi's petition, you will see that they've highlighted the units that are disputing. So why I brought that up is the question that was asked before I had to disconnect.
Yes.
Is that if you, on the face of it, on the face of Form EC8A or polling unit B or A, it is apparent on the face of that result that there are mutilations, alterations, and so on. That presumption of regularity is weakened. So a petitioner can demonstrate that by showing to the tribunal that there are manifest alterations and errors, which has to be explained. The burden will now be on INEC to explain those results. Look, there are things that the most dishonest person will admit, will concede to. Some of those results that we have all seen, you can clearly see witchcraft alterations. And I said witchcraft alterations because alterations that are so manifest, so clear, so obvious that one cannot discountenance. You see numbers altered in a manner that is so visible, right? So someone takes a result, party A has 110 votes in a polling unit, and then they cancel the first one, the first number. And then
now, you know what I'm giving to you? It's not granite.
What is that, please? Can you please mute yourself?
Yeah, they now leave the last two digits, 10. So you now see a result where party B had 110 votes. They now take the first number out. The party now has 10 instead of 110. You cannot defend that. That is manifest alteration. The good thing is that even though these results can be cooked, look, there are a lot of things I don't want to say publicly about INEC. I don't want to jeopardize the petition or to expose some of these things to because you don't know who is listening in.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of dirty and shady things that are happening. Right? Even as I speak to you, I'm representing Labour Party in a particular senatorial election in a state at the tribunal. For us to even have access to the result is a problem. Peter Obi faced the same problem. Atiku faced the same problem. So you have a situation where a so-called electoral umpire conducts an election and then denies you access to documents in his position, which you are legally entitled to under the Electoral Act. As of right, they deny you these documents, you don't have this, and without the documents, you cannot prove your case. So when there are manifest alterations, the court will take cognizance of that. But then the question will be how expansive, how wide, how substantial are the altered results? Is it just a marginal thing? Can presidential election be nullified on the basis of alteration of results in 10 polling units in the entire country?
Yeah.
So because I said you speak to it in singularity, you have to particularize your complaint. You have to look at it polling unit by polling unit, word by word, local government by local government, state by state, and then you arrive at a number. Yeah, please, you wanted to read the question.
Yeah, there's another question also on the issue of the vice presidential candidate of the APC, on about the double nomination. So some people are asking that you didn't make mention of that, you didn't touch that.
Yeah, that is another indices of disqualification. Because I said there are several issues relating to those grounds that I had left some of them out. I mentioned that. Okay. That is a very interesting argument. And don't be carried. Look, there's a whole lot of disinformation. Your internet is not stable. Can you hear me, Aisha?
No, we can hear you clearly. We can hear you.
There is quite a mountain of disinformation. One of the
Mm.
disinformation you are seeing on social media, right, is that you would have seen reports that the Court of Appeal has dismissed the case filed by the PDP to challenge the qualification of Tinubu and Shetima on grounds of double nomination. Don't be carried away.
Mhm.
That judgment did not determine the merit of the argument. It did not determine the substance. It did not pronounce on the issue of double nomination. The court simply said PDP is a busybody, that this is an internal affair of the party. It is the internal affair of the APC. But at the tribunal, it's going to be a different argument entirely. I don't think the argument of locals, I don't think that will hold up in court. It is again a very interesting issue that I really want to see how they will explain that. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting because if you look at Section 84 of the Electoral Act, Section 84, not only is, even though the law does not say what the consequence of double nomination should be, except, in fact, let me leave the exception, but the law has forbidden it. And when the law has forbidden, the Supreme Court has ruled, right, that Parliament does not need to say what is going to happen when you have violated the law. When you have violated the law, the act done in furtherance of that violation is a nullity. So they don't need to say in black and white that if you go through subject nomination, the nominations are invalid. No. Again, we have a problem. We have an issue of the Akpabio, the minor skills. But you know, those judgments of the Supreme Court, which is why I said we lawyers, the way we look at these things, those judgments strictly were decided on grounds and reasons other than that issue of double nomination.
Yeah, some of them are decided on technicalities.
I mean, like Ahmed Lawan, it was basically premised on the fact that Maina had raised allegations in his pleadings, in this case, in his originating someone that were criminal in nature. And the Supreme Court said he should have commenced his suit by writ of someone, not by originating someone. Because when facts are contentious and disputable, conflicting, and adversarial in nature, you are not supposed to commence the proceedings by originating someone. You ought to go through writ of someone. Lawyers who are listening will appreciate what I'm saying. So don't be so carried away by some of these things. At the court, the argument will be different. So I want to know, because what are the record that is pleaded in the petition shows that at the time that Shetima accepted as evidence in the documents that have been pleaded to be the running mate of Asiwaju, he was still the senatorial candidate of the APC in Borno State. So whether the two nominations at the material time, because what will be determinative of that species of the petition is going to be time. There will be the APC will not be able to argue. I don't see them arguing successfully that in simplicity, right? Simpliciter, or on the face of it, on the face value, that there was no double nomination. The question will be at what time? Was it everlasting? Was the double nomination terminated at some point? Did it evaporate at some point? Did it cease to exist by operation of law? Can it be deemed to be abandoned? Or was it put in abeyance upon the acceptance of the nomination to be running mate?
Okay.
So it is going to be time. At what time was this double nomination evidence? And what interpretation should we give to that? So again, I don't want to make a pronouncement. I want to see how the court will approach that.
Thank you so much, Barrister. So more questions are coming in, but just for me to quickly explain on that issue of the Maina case and Ahmed Lawan's case, and we know where you're talking about the writ of summon, the way we have this friend of ours who is also a lawyer, and the way she simply explained it to us was to say the Supreme Court just simply said they were supposed to use a plain sheet to do this case. They decided to use foolscap. And so because you did not use plain sheet, but you used foolscap, the whole issue, was put aside. And somehow, on issues like this, the Supreme Court has really been, has behaved badly in Nigeria. They haven't done what a Supreme Court is supposed to do, even in terms of looking at laws and interpreting laws and all of that. I will never forget the case of, I think it was PDP Wike in 2014, where they ruled that the card reader was not admissible in the court. And that sort of threw us back a long way. But hopefully they begin to understand that activism can also happen within the judiciary system and do the needful for Nigeria. Do you want us to continue with questions, or you continue and then we come back to these questions that are here?
I think questions, if they are, because that speaks to what people are concerned about, okay. So that I will not be speaking to things that people may not necessarily have interest in.
Oh, what you're saying, I tell you, we really have interest in it. You've really broken it down for us. But let me just go ahead and look at this question so you explain more on them. Someone is asking, if Shettima is ineligible, does it disqualify BAT, automatically, or does he just go pick a new VP?
No, both are disqualified. Because by the Constitution, you cannot, the Constitution is clear that for you to be eligible to contest as president, in fact, it says you shall not be eligible. Let me even put it in simple language. The Constitution says you cannot contest as president except you have nominated someone to contest with you as your running mate. And it is not just what the Constitution says. The Supreme Court has ruled on this in this case in Bayelsa. There's a precedent already. If the candidacy of the vice presidential candidacy is defective, the presidential candidacy is also defective. Their fate is like conjoined twins. They either swim together or they sink together.
Oh, wow.
What affects one affects the other.
So, but listen, let me just quickly chip in my layperson knowledge. That reminds me, I think it was Bayelsa, where someone had won election, and then he had his deputy, his running mate, the deputy governor-elect, was found to have been corrupt, have used forgery or something like that, who was a senator at that time, and then he had to lose out. But the way Nigeria is so funny, the man still retained his senatorial seat. I think that was in Bayelsa.
That is the de-risk case. Yeah, that is it. Yeah, Bayelsa, I mentioned that is the de-risk case.
Yes, and it was so, I just couldn't imagine sometimes the law is really blind in a way, but yet it was the same thing he used for his senatorial disability. It didn't affect him. He went back to being a senator, but the other one lost it. But so that question has been answered. So you did hear that. Itoro, so that's the question it automatically affects. Then we have Peter here who says, when does real-time transfer of results at polling units begin and end? Real-time transfer.
Immediately, it begins the moment the presiding officer has made imputation in the Form E-C-8A. That is the polling unit result. Once the result is recorded, all the information that is required, the total vote cast, total valid vote cast, number of accredited voters, and all the information, the number of ballot papers applied for the unit, it is signed, the votes scored by all the parties is recorded, and of course the agents sign if they want to. The law says at that point you have to transmit. You have to transmit before you take the result to the registration area. That is the World Collation Center. You are not audible, Aisha, you are muted.
So sorry about that. I mute so that I don't interfere and then I forget. So someone is saying here, let me check. Confidence is saying, I want to be clear on this post on social media displayed by INEC that PDP is the second runner-up. So if Tinubu result is nullified by court, is it possible that Mr. Peter Obi can be declared winner based on the fact that he won Abuja? I know you say you didn't want to be magisterial, if I may.
No, that I can answer that one. Okay. I can, because look, again, lawyers are not bothered about all these things, you know, because they know what the issue is going to be. Obi and Atiku cannot succeed together on a particular prayer. I think the Labour Party should even pay me. I should write to Labour Party to dispel the disinformation that Obi did not seek to be declared. When that information about the petition broke, the entire media carried that Obi was just going on. I was the one who, if you check, first posted that.
I remember that.
And then other people now carried it. There is so much disinformation. The truth of the matter is that in Atiku and Obi's petition, they have sought what we call alternative reliefs. Those reliefs, the courts, mathematically, legally, commonsensically cannot grant to be all his reliefs. They will either grant a part of it and refuse a part. If they agree with him that is called majority of lawful vote cast, then they are not going to nullify the election. If they agree with him that, yes, Tinubu was not qualified, let us assume for the sake of argument, that is the holding, yes, or that he did not have a majority of lawful vote. However, or that the election was invalid by reason of non-compliance to the Electoral Act, which I had explained, then they can nullify the election. They cannot nullify the election and still make a declaration on the basis of that nullification. Right? They can nullify and set aside the return of the candidates, Tinubu. But if they nullify the entire election, nobody can benefit from it. That is why it is called release in the alternative, because in your pleadings, you can seek and lead evidence that are competing and conflicting. The law allows for that. You can say, in fact, to put it in a layman's term, you can speak from different sides of your mouth. It is allowed. It is based on the state of the pleadings. Why am I stressing that point? Atiku has said in one breed that Tinubu, you see, the one that is actually quite intriguing is Atiku's petition. Because in his petition, he first, Asiwaju did not have 25% vote, but he too didn't have it. But he also wants to be declared. That is the way the relief in the alternative comes in. Atiku is saying, my lord, if you agree, right? If you agree that 25% vote in the FCT is a distinct requirement, nullify the entire election, because I did not have it, Asiwaju did not have it. None of us should be declared. But if you say that FCT is a state, as stated in section 294 of the Constitution, whether that is applicable to election petition is a different thing. Right? Because I've seen someone asking me to expatiate on that. Maybe I'll do that later. Okay. But I'm just saying that Atiku is saying that if you say that it is not a distinct requirement, that all you need is 25% votes in 27 states, whether that is mathematically possible, I don't know. Then I am the one who should have been declared because I have majority of lawful votes. So there is no, the good thing is that most likely it is the same panel that will hear all the petitions, presidential petitions. So when they look at the pleadings and the evidence, if they decide that someone other than Atiwaju should be the president, they will have to choose whether that person should be Atiku and Obi. And how that choice will be made and the decision will be made is based on the state of pleading and the evidence. I'm not going to dabble into any extrajudicial considerations. I'm speaking now strictly as the lawyer. They will have to look at what is the evidence before us? What is the state of the pleadings? By pleadings, I mean what is in the petition and the replies that the respective parties have filed. Who has proved his entitlement to these reliefs?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I've answered that question.
No, you have quite a lot. Thank you so much, Barrister. And also for people to...
It doesn't matter, please. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, sorry, Aisha. It doesn't matter that for the purpose of this case, what I declare is Article 2, Peter Obi third. What is going to be relevant at the tribunal is having reviewed the results that the parties have spoken to in their pleadings and the evidence, who have recalled. Aisha, remember I said pay attention to every language that I use. I said majority of lawful votes cast.
I remember.
Not majority of votes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have majority of votes, but it's not majority of lawful vote cast.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is the party that had majority of lawful vote cast, that is going to benefit. Oh, it looks like my light has gone off.
Welcome to Nigeria. Yeah.
Funny enough,
that was
yeah.
the same argument. I remember when the Hope at the Imo State petition, Supreme Court, this thing came out. I took my time, even though I'm a lay person, to just go through the case and everything, what the judgment was all about. And it was on that issue of lawful vote, and some people were disqualified because one had too many, is it double in two different parties at the same time and all of that. The law is quite interesting. Just to say to everyone is that this is basically on election petition. So we're going to keep it strictly, the questions have to do with election petitions. So where I see questions that are not related to election petitions, sorry, I will not be asking him, taking that question in. So I'm trying to look at, so I don't know, Fidelis, I don't know where you get this thing. What Mr. Inibehe, Barrister Effiong just did is to just lay out what is that. He didn't make any prediction who is going to win or who is not going to win. But it seems you are making a decision that it seems likely that the court proceedings might go in favor of the APC from your analysis of the electoral and the burden of proof, the defiance of the electoral body in allowing the petitioners access to the vital document, which could serve as evidence. What legal actions can the people embark on such as peaceful protests? Well, from the conversation he had said down. Oh,
sorry, Aisha. Can I interrupt you? That is not an accurate representation of the thing that I've said.
Absolutely, that's what I'm trying to say right now.
There is nothing that I have said that is so suggestive or conclusive of victory for the APC. I just laid down some basic principles, and let me even say that I haven't even gone into the nitty-gritty of those principles. If I want to break these things down, we are not going to live here tonight. So I don't want to be too detailed about these things. I just spoke broadly. I have read the two petitions of the two parties. I've had the privilege of looking at them, right? And I have even said before now on Twitter that they raise interesting issues. They raise issues that I want to see how even the other side will answer to them. There is nothing that I have said that anyone should leave here with the impression that this is how the judgment is going to go. Please let that be corrected. Aisha, can you hear me? You are muted. Okay,
I can hear you now.
Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
Okay, so sorry. I just realized that I didn't realize I didn't charge my device. So what's the next? Okay, someone is saying that people are also asking, why did Peter Obi not raise the criminal case against Tinubu till after the election? Wouldn't this have been overtaken since he was allowed to already participate in the presidential election?
No, that is not true. Again, be careful of the things you read online. There are matters that are both pre-election and post-election in nature. Again, this is a matter, the Supreme Court has made that clear. And this was one of the points that were canvassed in Atiku and Buhari 2019, right? There are indices of disqualification that are both pre-election, matters you can litigate before election and post-election. The question of forfeiture or any matter arising therefrom is a matter for the tribunal because it goes to the qualification of the candidate under the Constitution. So those who are saying this should have been brought before election, they should now be properly informed.
Okay, thank you so much. There's also a question somebody asking, when will the tribunal start their sitting?
Well, they will have to issue a schedule. There is what is called pre-hearing session.
Okay.
the law says within 7 days, I think, yeah, within 7 days of the conclusion of pleadings. By that I mean when the parties have filed their oh, my video is, the light is back, but
Maybe, yeah, it's a
yeah.
bit dark.
I think it's this one is from my camera. It's not the light. There's an issue with it. To fix it, I have to go up and come back. I may not want to do that.
No.
So
please. Let's just continue.
Yeah. So let's no one be bothered about that.
Okay. I think you've spoken on the issue of Abuja already, right? Because somebody is asking, what's the special? Do they have a special status in determining? Does Abuja does it have a special status to determine who to be the president or not? I think
it is left for the court to determine. But be minded that by virtue of Section 294, the Constitution says that for the purpose of application of the Constitution, the Federal Capital Territory shall be treated as one of the states of the Federation. Now, what is that application of the Constitution? The principle, the precedent that have been laid is that applies essentially to the administration of the FCT. That is why, by law, the president is deemed to be the governor of the FCT, even though the law delegates that duty to the minister of the FCT. And for the purpose of legislation, the National Assembly makes law for the FCT. So the National Assembly is the House of Assembly of the FCT, if I can use that language. So this relates essentially to administrative issues. But regarding the question of qualification or the conditions that one has to attain under Section 134, whether the administration, the administrative running of the FCT, that Section 294, can be read to be consequential to 134 is a different thing entirely. So I don't want to go in too deep into these things. I know the court have said, I know the court have said that the FCT is a state, but that saying by the courts, the question is going to be in what circumstance? Every case, every lawyer knows, like we say, a case is only an authority for what is decided. You don't just go to court and throw principles at the judge or the tribunal and say, oh, my lord, you had ruled in 1980. You are ruling in 1973. No, you must speak to the facts. You must speak to the peculiarities. A case is only an authority for what it decided. Those cases, did it decide the question of the conditions to meet to be declared as president? The answer is no. The other question is there really a reason why that principle or those precedents should not apply to election petition? Again, it will be left for our judges, my noble lords, you know, the wise men, the 5 wise men of the Court of Appeal, the 7 wise men of the Supreme Court to determine. I have my own personal feelings about it. I don't want to speak about my feelings. I'm just telling you what the argument is. One side says it is a special requirement, right? It is not, the question may not really be whether Abuja is special. I have seen some of those somewhat petty analysis. Oh, Abuja residents special, and so on. I mean, those are things, remarks that can be made at the court. But I know the way lawyers will look at it will not be that simplistic. The question is it a precondition? Is it one of the conditions? And if Abuja is a state, what is now going to be the 2/3 of the states? Will that be having 25% votes? Of percent of votes in 25 states or in 26 states or 24 to 3rd. God forbid that we go back to the days of Awolowo and Shagari on 12 to 3rd, where the Supreme Court, you know, led a precedent that they themselves, my Lord says, should never be cited. So I believe, look, for me as a student of constitutional law, you know, for me, as a passionate, someone that is very passionate about our development of our constitutional law, I'm happy that this issue has been brought. I'm happy that our court will have an opportunity to put it to rest.
Okay.
So let's have an open mind about the FCT question.
Thank you so much. But I think, Barrister, what will happen we might have to do this thing in 2 parts. No verse. Because you've dealt with that one part, because the other one, it's so also the nitty-gritty and all of that you want to go into. It's also huge on its own, that we can't just squeeze it into this time. So let's just use question and answer to do this one, probably in the next 2 weeks or something. I would have said next week, but I know you're super, super busy, so that we can have another one and break it into 2. Is that something that it's possible? Sorry for—
As the court pleases. As the court pleases.
I
cannot say, Aisha, I cannot say no to you. You are just saying—
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot. I'm so sorry. And even when I call, you mentioned something earlier where you said that, Labour Party should actually pay you, because, when the whole thing happened, it was when that was time we were even having this conversation. When lawyers started saying all sorts of things like, Labour Party didn't file the case well, Peter Obi didn't do this. It was when I went to your handle and I read, I was like, oh, okay, my brother has spoken. So that's it. So it's really important, that knowledge. And as we go on, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation, fake news that will be put out there just to put doubt in people's mind, to make them think, whether there's a case or there's no case. That's not the issue. We are all going to the courts, and the courts will decide. But as we are coming on, there's a news that is coming in about appeal court dismisses PDP's case against Tinubu Shettima.
I already addressed that. I said, don't bother about those things.
Okay.
That decision has not pronounced on the question of double nomination. The court of simply said that the PDP is a busybody, that they don't have the locus to bring in.
Oh, yeah, yes, that was the one you are addressing too.
It is not their business to determine who the APC should nominate as a candidate. But when we get to the Court of Appeal, the tribunal, that now becomes a question of qualification. Because under the Electoral Act, right, one cannot participate in 2 elections or be nominated therefore. But does double nomination affect qualification? Is it one of the disqualifying indices under the Constitution? That is going to be, I believe that is what the APC will be saying. My Lord, supposing, without conceding that there was actually double nomination. But the Constitution does not say anyone that is nominated for 2 positions should be disqualified. Whether that will hold up in court is a different thing entirely. Recall, I also said that what will be more important is going to be time. We lawyers speak to what we call material time. We don't just speak to time. We speak to time that is material. What time is material? Was the double nomination, if proved, was it everlasting? Did it terminate? Did it evaporate at some point? Did it go into abeyance? What is the double nomination? At what time? What is the incident of double nomination? That is the consequence of double nomination. What is the character of this double nomination? What is the evidence of this double nomination? Look, there are a litany of questions that lawyers are going to examine. And the good thing is that both sides have the best legal brains to argue this out. So let us see how the court will address that.
Oh, great. That's great. Thank you so much. So there's another question from YouTube where someone is asking, how are the tribunal judges nominated, or how are they chosen? Is it the president?
Of course, they are empaneled by, respectively, the president of the Court of Appeal nominates members of the 5 panel members. At the Supreme Court, my Lord, the CJN will empanel the 7 justices that will determine the petition, the appeal arising from the judgment of the Court of Appeal.
Okay, so it's a judiciary business. They're the ones that do everything. So
it is internal.
Okay, it's internal. Okay, so
yeah.
They
have their own way of selection, which I'm privy to. There's a process, and it does not apply only to election petition. The court, the appellate courts, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, they sit in panels, but they have their own internal mechanisms of determining how the panel should be constituted and who should constitute the panel. But these are matters that are left eventually at the discretion of the heads of courts, the president of the Court of Appeal, the Chief Judge of Justice of Nigeria.
Also, the question, can the court proceedings be aired live? Is that something that
I support that? I align with the position of the NBA that it should be aired live, but that will be left for the president.
But there's nothing in our law that prevents that, right?
None.
Okay.
None.
Okay. So it's just
if any lawyer in Nigeria will be against live transmission of court proceedings. It cannot be the lawyer who went to prison for protesting the expulsion of a journalist and coverage of the court. I went to prison for 2 reasons or 3 reasons. 1, because I asked the chief judge to recuse from a matter. 2, because I protested the presence of armed policemen in court. 3, because I also protested the expulsion of a journalist from the courtroom. So, and when I was in prison, there was an argument and debate. I heard that it was in prison. I heard people saying that it was reported that I was pointing at the judge. I was banging the table. None of those things happening in court. So if there was live record of what actually transpired that day, if the video is there, I mean, nobody will argue. Even when we have demanded for the CCTV, which is in the court, they are now telling us they don't have CCTV. So I don't want to personalize the issue, but all I'm saying is that you can use Inibehe Effiong's case and speak to the importance of having court proceedings televised. And I'm aware that the Justice Reform Project, which is a body, a pressure group in the legal profession, has also pushed that advocacy. I believe it is time for the legal profession in Nigeria to be digitalized. Let people be able to transmit court proceedings, especially very important cases. So I believe this is something that may be possible now that the NBA luckily has added its voice. If they don't yield to the pressure from the NBA, the only other option will be either for them to do it on their own, or alternatively for one of the parties to the case, to the petition, to bring an application. I had said in a Twitter space that I don't think any of the lawyers or any of the parties will bring that application. Because the moment you bring that application, it is possible you may be, you know, people may be looking at you as, okay, what exactly is your intention and all that. That is, I don't want to go too deep into that. But let us hope that my lords are reading the mood of the nation. They know that the eyes of the nation are watching them. And to aid the credibility of the process, I will 100% support the live transmission of the proceedings.
That would really be great. And also very important for citizens to understand they too can do something. Let's put that searchlight on the judiciary. Let's all be invested and interested in what is happening during this election petition, the tribunals. And it's not just something that is just for politicians. This is something that affects us all. We should all be invested in ensuring that the right thing is done. Someone is asking, can citizens sue the INEC for promising to transmit the result in real time and failing to? Okay, that's it. So we have
that is a matter for the tribunal, and it's only the candidate and the party.
Okay, so that's no problem. Therefore, we have a question, 2 questions here by one.
We will not have the local standard to do that.
Okay. So just the way that PDP's case was dismissed on this issue of who was
you'll be seen as a busybody, because how does the failure to transmit the result in your polling unit?
But it's my polling unit.
Your interest?
No, but yes. That's why the result I have is different from the one they finally put there.
That is why the candidates you voted for should go to court.
I mean, they should go to court, but
look, a lawyer can file any case, but that is one case that I give you 100% assurance to be thrown out. And it will be thrown out with punitive cost. And if you are not aware, the one of the courts of appeal, they awarded 5 million, not even against PDP. They awarded it personally against the lawyer to the party. So even if you come to me as the lawyer and brief me, I'm not going to, I mean, this election period, people have brought all sorts of briefs to me. I rejected it. I said, go to other lawyers. Because ethically, I also have a duty to tell you what the law allows or what is achievable or cognizable under the law. So as the lawyer, if you file that kind of case, you are also jeopardizing your professional standing. Let the party argue that in court. I'm already in court for Labour Party. In fact, the petition I have filed, that is very central to our case. I'm not going to now go. There's a central candidate. I have a client I'm representing at the candidate of the Labour Party I'm representing, and the issue of non-transmission is very central to our petition. So I cannot not now go ahead and say, as a citizen, you are not a party, you were not in the election, and you want to go and sue INEC. There are other things we can possibly sue INEC, but let it not be that one. Let's focus. Let's allow the tribunal to address that.
Okay, so let's not major in the minor. There are major things that we can take.
Exactly.
Them on. So there's one with 2 questions, but I think question 1 of this is a bit more technical. That should be data, but anyway, I'll read it out. It says, in the case of altered form EC8A, can the beavers data be used to substantiate the petitioner's claims? I presume figures registered accredited votes for each party must have been keyed into the beavers from the polling unit. That's one. And then the second question from this particular person, that's David. It says, there's this talk about Labour Party non-compliance with the Electoral Act about the late submission of Peter Obi's name. Can you quickly talk about that? So
Late submission of Peter Obi's name cannot be tackled at the tribunal. That is a pre-election matter.
Okay.
And insofar as his name has been published by INEC and he was the candidate, nobody can raise it now. If there was any grievance, it should have been filed within 14 days of the occurrence of the event. It is not a matter for the tribunal.
Okay. Then what about the first one about
and there is no facts. No, I don't have facts to show that Peter Obi's name was not submitted on time. Except there is facts. Let us see the facts and we can speak to it. But hypothetically, it is a pre-election matter. It is not the business of anybody at the tribunal.
Okay. That's the thing about law.
I mean, just like the whole argument about the name of Peter Obi or not being in the membership card of the Labour. I mean, people just say whatever they like. Yeah. It's not the business of anybody. And the law says a political party shall submit the registrar of its voters, of members before the election. Does it say that after submission, they can no longer admit members? Or that anybody whose name is not there cannot be the candidate? These are just things people are throwing up to entertain themselves. It's not an argument you will make in court. And I've said that to my adversary argument. I've asked them, what is the authority? Does the law say that if, in the first place, the law is clear, membership, question of membership is the internal affair of the party. The electoral act says every party should submit register of its members to INEC. Does that act say that upon submission, the party shall no longer invite new members? In fact, that is a matter the Supreme Court has recently pronounced on, even though I've not seen the judgment. But I know one of the issues that arose from my state, interestingly, in the case that Senator Itan filed against the nomination of the gubernatorial candidate of the APC in Akwa Ibom, Akanurofia, he was saying that Akanurofia was not a member of the APC, that his name was not in the, as at the time of his nomination. The Supreme Court said, what is your business? Yeah. The Supreme Court has said in plethora of cases that membership of the party is forum domesticum. In other words, it is internal affair of the party. It is for the party to decide. So some of these things, look, when I see all some of these things on social media, I just keep quiet. I know I cannot be speaking to every.
Yes, everything. It can be draining, but some of them, they actually it's done for a reason. For some of them, beyond some people just talking about showcasing their ignorance. It's also the fact that some of these things are deliberately done to sort of like undermine certain things and make people feel that there's nothing, or give up and say, okay, this thing is already over. So it's I think it's working on the psyche of people. So people,
even if it is a requirement, I know that under the provisions of all the political parties in Nigeria, you must have been a member for some time. Most of the constitution says 1 year before you can nominate. But then the same confusion in all the constitution of all political parties allows for waiver. So you can join the party on the 3rd of March, and on the 2nd of March, the party can choose to make you their candidate. All they need to do is for the relevant organ of the party to grant you a waiver. And in any event, whose business is that? It is the business of the party. It's the business of the party to determine what is the business of the court in saying which their candidate should be. It's a waste of time.
So for a question from Elvis, he says, is it possible for the CJN to excuse himself from the election petition?
I reserve my comments.
Okay. How can we ensure this? Okay, you've already done that. What will
why will anybody even speak about recusal? We don't know there is no matter before the Supreme Court, 1. Number 2, when the matter gets to the Supreme Court, that is when we will know who will be in the panel. It is not automatic that the CJN will be in the panel, mind you. It can be the next most senior, because they consider seniority in that kind of sensitive cases. But there is no guarantee that my lord will be in the panel, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And the justice that presides is usually the most senior, but it is not always the one that reads the lead judgment. In many cases, the justice that reads the lead judgment is not the one presiding. Look, the lawyers know that all these things are non-issues. I know there are extrajudicial considerations. I mean, my lords are human beings, they are Nigerians. But as the lawyer, I want to look at the law first. Don't bother all these things about the CJN and so on. Let us not scandalize the entire institution. When the matter gets to the Supreme Court, the panel will be, the Constitution already said the CJN shall, right? Shall constitute the panel. Do you know what it means to ask the Chief Justice of Nigeria to recuse? I went to prison because I asked the Chief Justice to recuse from the case of a governor. Most lawyers in Nigeria will never have the courage to even bring that kind of application. Never. I guarantee you, never. Do you know what it takes to tell? Gani Fawehinmi was also, like me, sentenced for contempt of court for asking Justice Ayorinde, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, to recuse. Because unlike having quarrel with just a judge or a justice, which you can just write to the Chief Judge or the Chief Justice of Nigeria or the head of court. When it is the head of court, either the Chief Judge of a state or the Chief Justice of Nigeria, do you know what it means to say recuse? Peter Obi's lawyer will not do it. Let me tell you straight away. They will not do it. If you want them to do it, you must give them real evidence of bias or likelihood of bias. I don't think that is something we should be bothered about.
Yeah,
let nobody be.
I think people just look at it from emotional, apart from emotional point of view, to also look at it from, citizens can ask and demand that they excuse themselves. I don't know. It's not citizens that can do that.
The Supreme Court will not listen to the citizens. So.
Yes, exactly. It's the lawyers in there, whoever.
It is not the citizens that will make the application.
So that's it. So I think it's from that point of where people are looking at it, from thinking that, as citizens, they can just come out and say, excuse yourself from this case and all of that.
No.
There's a question here also. I think we'll just round up on those questions and everything, and then we'll have your final thoughts. It's already 8:33, and so let's end it up on 9. Then hopefully, since Barrister has agreed, please everybody, next Saturday, 6 p.m. Nigerian time, let's come with our papers, our books, our everything. Come with the Electoral Act and also the Constitution, because by then he'll be going into the nitty-gritty of a lot of things. I have to run and go and get this because I didn't come with it initially. But so we'll round up on this question. I'll come back to you to give us your final overall thoughts, so that you just came in from you just came into the house when you started this whole thing, and I know you do need to go and have your rest also. So this question here says, how long do you think this case will take, and is it possible for the judgment will be passed before May 29th? There was another.
Well, today is what? Today should be 26th of March. Is today 26th? 25th, yeah, thank you. 25th of March. March is already gone. You have April and May. Well, Section 285 of the Constitution says within 180 days. You cannot tell them they must deliver outside that. It is left look, nobody knows how the case is going to proceed. A lot of things will happen. And mind you, it is not only Peter Obi's petition. Atiko's petition is there. There are about 4 petitions before the presidential election, before the Court of Appeal. So by precedence, the chances of determining it before swearing in is slim. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is slim. But by law, they have 180 days, and we should give them the time the law permits them. If luckily, mind you, even if it is determined before swearing in, the Court of Appeal still has 60 days. Sorry, the Supreme Court. Because any party that loses will go to the Supreme Court. And by the Electoral Act, if an election is nullified by the Court of Appeal, it will not stop the swearing in, except the Supreme Court also deliver judgment before swearing in. It is impossible. So people should now rest their mind. The petitions will not stop swearing in.
Exactly. That's a question I wanted to, because someone has, Felix, I've seen your message. You stop spanning it, the whole thing. Someone has been asking that question. I'm waiting. He says, while the case is being adjudicated, can Tinubu still be sworn in on May 29th? So Barrister has answered that question. Yes, he can be sworn in on May 29. And then there's a question here that says, can the court bar President Buhari from swearing in Bola Ahmed on the 29th of May, and on what grounds is such a thing? It's possible to have those things.
No.
Technicalities Nigeria shouldn't even, those are things we shouldn't even bother about. Let's just.
It is not Buhari that was swearing in, by the way. It is the CJN, the Constitution says the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Oh, yes, you're so right. So you get it, we heard it. It's not the president that swears in, the incoming president is the CJN, Chief Justice of the Federation of Nigeria, right? That's it. So while I'm trying to go to YouTube now and see the questions that they have. Okay, how soon the tribunal will sit? Okay, we've already answered that question.
There are administrative things they will have to resolve before the actual hearing commences. At this time, Tinubu has not filed his answer. INEC has also not filed. They have a limited time by law. They are even still trying. They just got an order to serve them. Tinubu was not served with the petition. They have to be served. They have to file their answer. They'll go to pre-hearing session. At the pre-hearing session, the scheduling will be done regarding the timeline for hearing, the time that the petitioner and the respondents will prove their case and so on. So these are, let people just be patient with the process. I think that is my message to everyone. Please be patient with the process. For whatever it is worth, I tell you for free, the lawyers representing the Labour Party, they are not pushover, right?
Absolutely.
They are not pushover.
And just to add, this is not part of what we are doing today, but just to add that if you are talking about real coconut head, I think Peter Obi is a real coconut head. This is someone who stayed 3 years going to a court all by himself. He'll be there with his lawyer, just sitting down there all the time, all the sitting. So it's not one to just give up. And I'm so happy that Nigerians are so invested in this case and the whole election. People are taking the time out to educate themselves and learn more and be active as citizens and participate. There was a message I wanted to read out just now, and it has just gone up. Okay, yes. Adachuku from YouTube says, everyone, see you all in the next lecture by Honorable Inibehe Effiong. Thank you, Aisha, for organizing this class. Honestly, this has been a class. It's been learning, opportunity to learn and take notes. And if you didn't come with your notes and your writing parts, and next time, please do that. It's really been an opportunity to learn. So I'll come back to you, Barrister, to say if there's anything that you feel we should know right now that you wanted to talk about that we've not talked about. But remember, the part 2 of this is coming up next week, Saturday, same time, 6 p.m. Nigerian time, by the grace of God. So over to you, Barrister.
Okay, so I think this is an aside. It's been quite exciting day. You would have read that the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Sanwo-Olu, a while ago, have issued a statement asking, in effect, asking me and my client to come and collect our check. I want to thank Aisha.
Hold on, Barrister.
I want to thank Aisha and every other person.
Hold on.
Their voice.
Let me be the one to talk this gist. This gist will not be sweet in your mouth. Hold on. Oh my God, why didn't I get that video? I just, while we were talking was when I just read that. I know many of you remember that NSAS 2.0 that was done. And there's this, and the video has been going around again recently, where this man, they wanted to force him, an Uber driver. He was just there to drop someone, and then police picked him up, and they were trying to get him into their Black Maria. But let me ask you, Barrister, did they even ever succeed in getting him into it?
Into the van?
Yes, into the van.
No, because in court, the Lagos State government argued that he was resisting an arrest, and I argued in response that he had the right to resist an unlawful arrest, and the court agreed with me.
Oh, fantastic. That's such an amazing case, because for me, there were so many of them, but they couldn't push that man in. He stood his ground. He was shouting, I don't have anybody. I don't know. I'm just an Uber driver. And he had his key. And then they used this thing. But what about his eye?
No, his eye is okay now.
Oh, thank God. Because I always wondered about that, because the guy just used that thing directly into his eye.
People, Aisha, you see, there's a lot of things, about the law that Nigerians should be aware. Most people will not know that you have the right to resist unlawful arrest. That is actually the law.
I didn't know that until you were saying it now.
For police to have the right to arrest you, the arrest itself must be lawful. So that was simply my response to them in court. And I defined what lawful arrest is as decided by our courts, and we got judgment. So
and they got judgment of 5 million naira for the guy. Initially, there were reports where the government, Lagos State government refused to pay. And now I saw someone trying to be a rule.
No, I wrote to the governor, and then the next thing I got was a notice of appeal. But thankfully, as I was preparing for this program, I was notified the governor had made a statement. So thank you, Aisha, and every Nigerian who joined their voices. You know, that is how our country should be.
Yeah.
We should have faith in our judiciary.
Yes.
Because when people taunt you, go to court, they are telling you that even when you get judgment, it is, what will it amount to? So for whatever it is worth, I am happy the governor has, given credence to the integrity of our courts.
Yeah.
And this will also further strengthen, it is almost unprecedented, I tell you. It is very rare.
A precedent has been set, right? Next time,
it is very rare in Nigeria to have, no matter, Sasanwolo has issues that some of us are aggrieved about. But on this particular matter, I kid you not, ask any lawyer. It is not very common to have the government or a governor openly comply with the judgment of a court regarding payment of monetary compensation. Most times you have to go to court to garnish their accounts to get their monies in the bank. Yeah. So this is, for me, very good for democracy and the human rights struggle in our country. And these are some of the little wins, that Nigerians and all of us who are concerned about our country, must also take home.
Thank you so much. So for those of you who remember that, this happened, I think 2021, if I'm not mistaken. It was the
we've been in court since we were in court
for 2 years.
2 years.
So this is what
for
happened.
2 years. We were in court for 2 years. Yeah.
Just going on and taking this case. And I must say to you, Inibehe, thank you so much for taking all of these public interest cases that many people really don't bother. It's not cases that will make you money and all of that, but you are always there as a conscience of the people and standing for the people and standing for those whose rights have been trampled upon. It's really something. And we're glad that even though we don't have Ganifa Wemi here today, we have the likes of you who are fighting for human beings and who are fighting a just cause. Thank you so much. Before we go on, there are two people here who have their hands up, Taye Murtala, and then War Against Impunity. I think I'll bring up Taye Murtala. First, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Yes, go ahead and ask your question.
I think I'm audible now, right?
You are, yes, you are now.
Really a privilege, having conversation. Aisha, you've been doing a good job. I have to say thank you so much. I've been all the week from Canada, wanted to hear more of you talk about it, and also the gentleman. Well, I don't know pronounce his name, Pastor Barrister
Effiong. Choose that flower.
Love him when he speaks. Yeah. So basically, my question is basically more of the 25%, of the FCD, but I think he has really shed more light on it. And well, I just prayed and hope to have a better Nigeria that we from the outside country can just come and just, because most of us are really scared coming to Nigeria because the security it's not really good. So, but my prayer is that I just pray this thing end up in our favor. That's what I just pray.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Taye Murtala.
On the 25%, I think I've addressed that. And how I did that was to say that there are two jurisprudential schools of thought, and there are arguments for and against. There are arguments on both sides. Let us allow the courts to pronounce on it. That is what I can say.
Thank you so much. So, War Against Impunity, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hello, how are you doing, Miss Aisha?
I'm doing great. Well done.
I have to say it's a pleasure talking to you. I really got to say, because we really need inspiration in our country, and you, ma'am, are an example. You really are. So I just bless God and bless you. Like, may God keep you and, just continue to uphold you. I'm serious from the bottom of my heart. I pray that. I want to talk to the barrister real quick, because I actually have a question. I'm going to roll the two into one, because I have, from my limited knowledge of law, I know the bench or the Supreme Court is meant to follow its own precedents. I know that for a fact, because over here they say precedent, because I have here a judgment of this same Supreme Court Justice, Justice Ariwola. Yeah, I have here, looking at it, barrister, a case from Friday, the 17th day of January in 2014, a case between Mohammed Abacha as the plaintiff and the federal government of Nigeria.
Yeah,
and in that,
I'm aware
yes,
of the case and the judgment.
Good. In that case, it was unequivocal what the Chief Justice said. He said, bearing in mind that an interpretation of a statute, the court must avoid arbitrary, it is necessary to tax tadpoles, the term forfeiture and indemnity to ascertain the intention of the lawmaker. Now, he said the Black's Law Dictionary, the 8th edition, in page 677, he said forfeiture. The forfeiture is the divestiture of property without compensation, the loss of right, privilege, or property because of a crime, breach, or obligation of neglect of duty. It goes on to say the title is instantaneously transferred to another as a government, a corporation, or private person. Therefore, forfeiture connotes punishment for a crime committed and is in effect an instantaneous indemnity. So it's instantaneous. And he said indemnity is, the duty to make good any loss, damage, or liability occurred by another. In summary, he said forfeiture is a sum of punishment. There is no indemnity for in our criminal procedure. So me reading that, and the Supreme Court is meant to follow its own precedents, then this case should be a very straightforward case. Or am I seeing something wrong here?
Recall I said every case is an authority for what it decided. Now, the facts of the Abacha's case, I know a bit about it and the division, I'm aware. I want us to recall that, see, I have if you speak to me privately, off record, I could tell you my personal views about these issues. But I don't want us to live here with the impression that I have already determined the petition. I want to defer to my lords at the Court of Appeal, the 5 wise men, to pronounce on these issues. I have said that particular issue is interesting. And saying that it is interesting is an indirect way of saying that it is an arguable issue. It is a recondite issue. It is an issue for which one cannot dismiss with a fling of the hand. I don't want to say more than that. Let Tinubu file his response. Let INEC also file their response. Let us see what the tribunal is going to say. Whether the forfeiture in this case, right? Recall I even read the provisions of the Constitution regarding this matter. And I even spoke about whether conviction or sentence. I took time to explain all that. And I concluded by saying that let us await the decision. The precedent you have cited, yes, is the precedent of our court. The extent of its applicability to this case is what I want the judges to determine. When the justices make their decision, I can now come out and tell you, I agree with it or I don't agree with it. And then the other parties who are dissatisfied can go to the Supreme Court. But if I tell you that, yes, this is what they are going to decide, or this is what they must decide, it will not be very fair to have that expectation of me as a lawyer, right? But it is a strong argument that the petitioners have made. It is an interesting argument. It is really an unprecedented argument. So let me wait and see. The good thing is that for the first time, Tinubu will now be forced to say on record what he knows about this matter. This is not just about the election, this is about documenting history, right? What Peter Obi has done is to give Tinubu the opportunity to answer some of the questions during the campaign. It is now left for our court to determine what effect they want to give to it. Recall I said they should be aware, I believe they are aware that the eyes of the nation are upon them. These petitions will also not only define, will even define the character of the Nigerian state, how we want the world and international community to look at us. So if I believe our judges and our justices should be mindful of these things, and then in their decisions, look at the law, and then be mindful of the interpretation that they give to our law, the effect it will have on how the world views us as a country. That is all I can say. From that little point of mine, it is now for you to draw your conclusions. I will not go beyond that.
Thank you so much, Barrister. And I just love the way you've really kept this thing, you've been objective about it. You've not been subjective, and that's the way it should be. It's an opportunity for us all to learn. You've been here to teach us, and let's carry it here. We cannot preempt the courts to go on based on the facts and evidence. And one of the things also for everyone to understand is that the law is not emotional. The law doesn't care about your emotions. I mean, even if all the judges, you bring them down and then somebody is killed before them, as long as the people who come to court don't bring evidence of that shows you this thing, they are not going to just simply say they will rule in your own favor. So that's where the courts will come into. So be upbeat about this thing. A lot of cases are being put out here. And one of the things also is for every one of us to have that confidence. Like a lot of people were ready immediately this whole case started when the results was announced. Some people were ready to give up. Oh, they were like, oh, Nigerian courts, you can't get justice there. But the thing is that we must make them to give the justice. We can't just go and say, oh, you can't give just give up on it before trying. No, because that's the people that tell you go to court. That's what they want to achieve. And so in the last few minutes that we have 7 minutes. Honestly, at 7 minutes marks, we're closing this down till next week by the grace of God, where we all come together. Let's have Uchenna. I think there are 3 hands up now: Itoro, Uchenna, and AMD. After those ones, we are not going to. Am I just saying Samuel coming in? After those hands, we'll be able to take, and we have 4 hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay, there are 4 hands plus Samuel. Please, so you just quickly take those questions, and I think I'll give everybody 1 minute each, or 1 minute 30 seconds. That will work. Uchenna, kindly unmute yourself. Let me set my time. I'm very good with this time, Martin.
Okay. Let me fast. Thank you, Mrs. Aisha. Thank you, the barrister, for everything you've told us concerning this. So my question is now, okay, if Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu gets sworn in as the president of Nigeria, doesn't it affect the Labour Party's chances in all these election matters? Because I don't think they'll be able to rule against the sitting president in court. So I would like the barrister to say something about them ruling against a sitting president as at that time. How does it think the judgment is going to be like when it's done the case against the president?
Okay,
well,
so
that's an extra-legal question.
Let me take all the questions, so that in a way we're able to keep to that time. Then you just pick them one after the other. Thank you. AMD, Itoro, I'm going to take you last because you've spoken before. So let me give people opportunity who haven't spoken. AMD, please go ahead.
Thank you, Aisha and the barrister, for this meeting. I just want to say, well, it's more of a comment, not a question.
Okay, well.
That this is really good because it keeps the fire burning on this election proceedings. And then it really makes a clear statement to the country, even to our politicians, that it's no longer going to be business as usual, where you kind of do whatever you want. And then everybody just feels that the votes don't count. So this is really good. And then just another comment on that is, what can we do to our politicians? Because this is not just a case of INEC as the national body. We have a big problem from the states where you have the governors and the INEC officials. The way they are being appointed is a big problem as well, because it's going to be a general effort. For example, we have what happened in Rivers State and in Lagos State, where so many people added their effort to complicate these election numbers and all. So how can we make sure that the governors are removed from these voting proceedings, so that way we streamline INEC to only the national part, not the arms that come, not the manipulations that come from the states themselves. I don't know if that is something that the barrister can talk about.
Okay, so we'll get that. We'll get that when we come to answer. Thank you so much for your comment, and thank you for your question, AMD. I think the person online right now is Samuel. Has Samuel spoken? Hello, Samuel.
Good evening, Miss Aisha.
Good evening. Aisha is okay. I'm good with Aisha. You don't need to put anything. I love my name.
Okay,
Aisha,
okay. Good evening. I love the work you're doing, and I just pray that God will bless you. Because of time, I just want to ask if, for instance, maybe the judiciary, the case goes straight to the Supreme Court, and I don't know the day, maybe probably the president-elect is being declared in favor. I just want the barrister to speak on it, whether is there any way we can take the case to, like, the international courts again? Because of time, just question I have now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And so the last person that we are having today, that's going to be Ituru. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Okay, thank you. So mine is really, really a quick thing. I just wanted actionable things. So the first thing is, what can we do to help? I know, you guys really enjoy the work you're doing, and can't even get my words out. Barrister's really taken his time out, and I can see he enjoys what he does. But what can we do to help your work? Is it like contributions or anything? And the next thing is, which I already asked Aisha earlier, is what actionable thing can we as ordinary people do? I know, Aisha, you said keep talking about it, but is there anything else you can think of to add to that? And that was for, excuse me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ituru. Please do get a glass of water. Thank you so much for being us right from the beginning. You've been here. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being part of this program. Unfortunately, we can no longer take in questions. We'll have these questions. The barrister will round up on it, but he has graciously accepted to be with us again next week, Saturday, by the grace of God. Live with Aisha will be coming up every Saturday at 6 p.m. Nigerian time. We'll be bringing in different people and having this conversation, basically on topical issues that affect Nigeria, its politics, and also governance. We all have to be active citizens, and these are some of the things that we'll do to be able to get that knowledge, to be able to be more active and participate in governance, in the governing of our country. So, Barrister Effiong, bros, over to you. I've wrote the questions.
The last set of questions are extra-legal questions. All I can say is that our court system is not perfect. I am myself a victim of a judicial system. So I understand why people are agitated about these things, but we cannot, let us not destroy the entire institution because of the grievances that we have. Let's give the justices the benefit of the doubt. Let's allow the process to run its course, and then we see how we go from there. By the Constitution, section 232, I guess, yeah, the principle of finality of determination of the decision of the Supreme Court is enshrined. Once the Supreme Court has pronounced, you can only appeal to God. You cannot go to the international court. I don't want someone to sit here and then make a conclusion that the petitions will fail, that the petition will fail. Or like I said, I don't want anyone to reach a decision. Allow the courts to take a decision first. The issues have been canvassed in the petition. Let the respondents answer to them, and then let the panel, let the evidence be led to the pleadings, and then let us see the decision that will arise from there. Regarding how to support, it is not a matter I can speak to. I think if there are conversations around that, I will leave that with those who have asked you to discuss that with Aisha. I don't want to make comments in the public space about, my work or supporting my work. We do the things we do, with whatever little resources that we have. No, I have never received grants from anywhere to do the things I do. But what is important is that we are committed to the struggle. The reason some of us identify with Aisha is the passion. Those of us who are passionate about Nigeria and about having a better country, we are not going to give up. But if within you feel you are convinced that you can support the things we do, those are things that conversation that you can have privately. But I'm not going to make any request or have conversations about that in a public space. Thank you.
Thank you.
So on the whole, in summary,
sitting
summary, the what?
The question of ruling against a sitting president.
No, don't bother about that, because the law is not going to allow for vacuum, except you are saying Buhari should not hand over. And when did you start trusting Buhari? When did Buhari start? Is it Buhari you want to repose your hope in? If you are going to have hope in the courts. Allow the court process to run. Don't listen to whatever Buhari says.
There's
so
also the question.
Let's allow the process to run.
This question on AMD that asks the question of what can we do to remove the politicians from the voting process, like governors? Are they in the voting process?
Well, that is not quite clear.
Yeah, so I think what he means, the interference. I think that for what I can get from the interference.
It is for judges. It is for judges to live to their oath of office. It is for INEC to live by their oath of office. It is for people to respect the law. It is for the civil society to beam searchlights on our courts and INEC and demand accountability from institutions of state. It is for us to play the role of the citizen, for us to make the office of the citizen to be active, for us to speak truth to power, to confront dictatorship. Let us not allow people to silence the civic space or allow the civic space to continue to shrink. We must take whatever risk is necessary under the law to protect our country from being, further dilapidated by what is clearly a criminal cartel that is holding all of us to ransom.
I think that also speaks to the actionable points that you were talking about. Yeah, I think that that Itoro asked about what are the things that can be done. I think most importantly is for citizens to be active citizens. Don't give up. Don't allow this thing where they say, oh, yeah, you can't win at the courts. Who says? The reason why because we have no focus on the courts. See what happened before they said that citizens votes don't count. Today, do they say votes don't count anymore? Because citizens decided that they were going to participate and be part of it and be part of politics. See what citizens have done in less than a year by just participating. All the people that you thought they were the ones that owned the powers and everything, they couldn't. They had to now resort to Togri and whatever. And we'll take care of that Togri and ensure that it's no longer part of our political system and our political process. So do not self-defeat yourself. We're already here. Yes, we're going to keep fighting and we're not going to give up and we'll continue what we're doing. Get the knowledge, be active so that you're not swayed by different things that people are throwing in to tell you that, oh, you can't win this election. We can't win it and the citizens can get their mandate back and the citizens are not going to go away. On the issue of what is there, how to help and all of that, just like Barrister Effiong, I also will say I've never gotten any grant and it's one of the things that I love to do because it gives me freedom. to be able to do my thing the way I want to do it, how I want to do it, and when I want to do it. This program basically share the knowledge, get that out, let people know it's happening. We can all come together and learn and learn from it. That sort of helps. And of course, if you want to, I see someone who said they would have loved Barista's number. We'll find out his office number. There's the person that wants that, we will get that out. So we can continue that conversation if you want to take it on Itoro in terms of the office, because honestly, there are a lot of pro bono cases that if people want to, it will really help. And the thing about going to court is that precedents are set. So the next time somebody is going to court now on a similar case like the one that Barrister Effiong had won, they can say, oh, on this case, this happened. And so there are so many public interest cases that the lawyers don't get money, the people don't even have the money to pursue it. If there are some of the things that you're interested in doing, so you get in touch. My email address is always my name @gmail.com, Aisha Yusufu @gmail.com. The way I spell my name. It's been an interesting 3 hours. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And thank you everyone for joining me, and most especially to my brother. And you know the thing, I just asked you this thing. You didn't even take 1 minute to even think. You just say you're going to be. And just a few days ago, I saw someone who said they just joined in now because they didn't know the program was going to happen. We didn't do well in publication. We take responsibility for that. We'll do better next time. But now you know, next week, by the grace of God, Barrister Effiong will be with us. And then he will also, the lessons and the teachings will continue. So please get set, get prepared, and also tell other people. And please, I think I would end this thing today by, if I don't go back to this quote, which is such an important quote. And for us all to always remember to give people their dues. Don't take away from someone. I'm going back to that quote that I had. And even within this political season, it's so apt. That's why a lot of people, and sometimes people just want to give quotes to, because they feel, oh, I can't, how all this knowledge could have come from this person that is so young. And by the way, Barrister, I didn't want to say your age, so that they will not start saying.
I'm 34, really. I'm going to be 35 by December. And I'm still very much single.
Abby, are you searching? You can be single and not searching. Are you single?
That is on a note.
You know, you exclude, and this is me. I don't flatter. Yeah, yes, absolutely. But you know, a comrade there, I don't flatter. So, and when I say to you, exude so much knowledge and so in depth that you look like you're 20 years in terms of knowledge, you're like 20 years more than what your knowledge is. The first time I realized that you graduated from law school in 2014, I was like, eh? And you've made such an impact in the whole legal system that we have in Nigeria, and you're just getting started. It's really amazing. And for me, I say it's something that really gives me joy, because at least we know that in a lot of things are covered. So this statement, I'm going to read this out to every one of us now, because as we go on, people get carried away by emotions. Whatever we do, even if it's something that is going to be against us, let's stand on the path where truth is. It helps us a lot. That's why you don't have to now start going this way, going that way. Just stand on the truth. Yes, there are times people won't like you. It doesn't matter. There are times even your own self, you'll be against yourself. It's okay. But if you try as much as possible to always be on the side of truth, it helps someone over time. So I will repeat this quote by Inibehe Effiong that is wrongly attributed to some other people. This was a quote he did on June 6, 2017. He said, "If you are emotionally attached to your tribe or political leaning to the point that truth and justice become secondary considerations, your education is useless. Your exposure is useless. If you cannot reason beyond petty sentiments, you are a liability to mankind. May we not become liability to mankind." Thank you so much. Over to you, Mr. Effiong, Barrister Effiong, for any for your closing statement. Thank
Closing
you.
remark, comrade, like I always call you, Aisha, thank you for the invitation. Thank you to everyone who has made our time to listen. I hope that you may have found one or two things that points I made informative. I will be very much obliged, willing to avail myself of any opportunity to have a conversation with Nigerians on the electoral process. So that is me telling you that whenever you are willing to have me back, please let me know and I'll be here.
Next week, Saturday.
Thank you. I will make out.
Thank you so much. 6 p.m. And we had at one time right now we have over 1,000 people on YouTube that are joining and following. And you know what is so shocking? And at one time I know we had like 1,100 people. What is so shocking is that most times people don't stay to the end. And here, for people to stay up to 1,000 people to the end of this program, in such an educative program, Barrister, beyond just this, if I say you will take up lecturing. We need to pass that knowledge to someone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing this knowledge with us and breaking it to the point where we can understand. That is amazing and that is great. And to everyone, thank you for joining us. And we hope to see you again same time next week, 6 p.m. Nigerian time on Saturday, live with Aisha. Thank you. My brother, thank you for joining. God bless you all.
My regards.
Take care.